TSM on the precipice. Surely they're going to take the win, unless it's a massive moment from this last player. I don't even know who they are. It's crazy, but TSM finds their own business and come through such a tight end game as victorious.
Wait, moving forward.
One.
To the left, to the left.
One. I got one. I'm swinging.
Nice. I'm behind you.
Oh
Nice.
my god. They're weak. So weak.
Got one down.
Clean up. No.
Oh, we won!
They're resing her.
I'm gonna go down there if you can.
We have to push this. I'm pushing this. One left.
They're like.
Dead.
Nice, you're good.
No, he's not. You win it, baby.
Please.
I'm dead.
Enough.
You win it.
Let's go!
So much better.
You're so much better. Holy
Not one. We're good. One fight.
Apple two. Dead.
Oh my god, let me go.
Watch it. Watching turret.
Bring in scratch, get aggressive,
100 on cat.
Bring one.
I killed one. One more. Last one. Nice.
Getting us off.
Swing out. I killed one.
Of all of that, and Destiny's last one up again. RE45 in hand. This weapon can work miracles, but can it pull it off? Yes, the near go down as Desu gets the shield swap, and Flawless are still in this.
Almost flash. I don't have any more items. Got her. Go one. Let's go. Go, baby. Right here. Behind you. Got push. Oh my god, let's go.
Hello?
Top cracked one. Dead. Lost. Dead.
GG's. Oh my god, how are you so good?
How?
Wait, you what?
How are you so good?
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Celestial Cup here in the Soul League, Week 4, the final week before the finals. I shouldn't have started with the word final, but regardless, my name is Dia. I'm joined by Vicky Kitty here on the broadcast. Vicky, thank you so much for joining us in yet another fantastic week of Women's Comp.
I cannot wait. I've always talked about it, Dia. Women's comp here in Apex is nothing like I've ever seen before in any other community. And they're fighting for something out here too, because $500 prize pool. And right now, today, Dia, you said it. This is the last week where you have that last chance opportunity to qualify into finals. But today we have a little surprise here. As per usual within the split, we got some patches, we got some changes going into the core game of Apex Legends.
I'm going to be really honest with all of you. I have not played a game today. I have not cast the game today. I am going to be as shocked as anyone moving into. I know you've been playing a lot, Vicky. I know you've gotten some reps.
Help. I mean, yes, I have. It's been a great time. Yes, I have, but I haven't tried. I've been playing a lot of Mad Maggie today to look at the changes. And then about 30 seconds before we went live today, I saw Moki's tweet about Seer and the super jumps that he could do now with an ult, and it looks pretty crazy. I think this is going to be inevitable. I think this is something that we're going to be seeing not only today, but going into the future of how this is going to shift up the meta.
And especially here in Celestial Cup, you're going to see a lot more of this than you might were we to just pop into ALGS, where maybe everybody plays Seer for a game and then suddenly Seer gets banned because there are no legend bans here. And that's going to mean that whatever you want to play, you get to play it for the entirety of the 6 games that we'll play, starting on Stormpoint, then World's Edge, and E District. So, very different maps. Same compositions can be played across all of them, though.
Yeah, that's very true. And, sometimes that does force a lot of flexibility. But here, now you need to be forced to understand and adapt to what would be staying the same here across all these different 6 games. Aside from the fact that would be shifting between every 2 maps, it's still about looking at which comp is going to be the consistent comp that ends up being the meta here within the lobby.
And because we're starting off on Stormpoint, I do want to throw out there that right now I am expecting to see, at least on this map, a lot more Maggie, which should work with what you've been practicing today, because Maggie does provide an incredible amount of utility in bunker busting, especially on this patch, which I'm personally very excited for because. On this map, there is so much ability for things like Newcastle, Gibraltar, Rampart to be quite strong with all of the open space that you can take up, and so having an alternative to that that says, you know what, I'm just going to take away your cover and maybe not play with some of my own could be quite exciting.
I'm so happy you brought that up, Dia. I 100% agree with you because Matt Maggie's actually like just recently, just for fun. I've been wanting to try her out, and then I saw the patch. I saw that she was gonna get buffed. I'm like, heck, let's go for it. And you bringing it up, and the fact that we're shifting around Stormpoint being that first map, having a lot more of that open ground, and not having restricted POIs here, and allowing everybody to have to figure out how they're gonna be shifting into the next zone, it could be a little difficult. Let's see her. Let's I didn't mean to say it like that. I
Let's
just said,
see
"Let's
her.
see her." Wow. I mean, you can already see where my brain's moving on to because we're gonna be able to see probably a lot of Seer and maybe some mix-ups. Sparrow still being probably played a lot. We know that his ultimate, the health, did get nerfed. It's not the only thing that did get nerfed, but pretty strong character, has a very flexible movement, and being able to remotely scan those beacons comes in clutch, Dia.
Yeah. Well, we are starting off on Stormpoint. I am going to note as well, for those of you new viewers, that these are going to be randomized POI drops as well. So while we get the lobby set up, just keep it in mind that you may see your favorite team dropping in different places as the day goes on. Even though it's only across 2 maps, that can make a pretty huge difference, and it's really going to emphasize the adaptability of these squads. And it's a big reason why I'm also quite happy that we don't have legend bans on top of that, right? At least you get to keep one or two things consistent when you don't know where you're going to be dropping.
Yes, 100%. And plus, then you have to consider what is going to be your planned rotation based off of the same compositions you're going to be leaning into, whether it be the control legend, whether it be obviously that sparrow where you're going to have that remote scan and see where everybody is on the survey beacon. It allows people to also shift into being more foundationally attached to whatever they need to stick to playing within their roles rather than have to practice that flexibility and try to stray away from what doesn't really work from one player to another. That's why, whenever you see a player that's on a fragger on a control legend, more so like on that anchor role, it ends up being a little wishy-washy when you have to go into a more flexible role.
So I do have a question for you though, because I saw the
Mhm.
hot fix that came in. Have you gotten a chance to pick up the 3030 yet this
I have
patch?
not. I have not tried, no, because I've been trying out the new flatline, so I have not tried out the new
Yeah.
3030. What was on top of the skull piercer? What was it? What were the nerves about the 3030?
I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up because I think the skull piercer really stood out to me, but there was something about adjusting the headshot damage as well, like independent of the skull piercer, that I was like, you know what? Maybe this gun's actually low key a little dead. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out.
You know what? Sometimes we're healing a day at a time, Dia. And
So,
let me tell you, sometimes when I can't sleep at night and I end up, having those sleep paralysis moments and I just hear as PTSD, the 30-30 shots in the charge rifle put on with the select fire on automatic, by the way, crazy.
God.
In my dreams. In my dreams. Just, but that's why you talk about adjustments. That's why you talk about how strong a character like Gibraltar would be on a map like this. And imagine if you're getting pelted still by a charge rifle or a 30-30 when Mad Maggie just got buffed and will
Yeesh.
destroy your dome. And obviously, like, not the only legend, right? Like, you have also players that are very comfortable if they're not going over to Sparrow, settling down and maybe playing more bunker down composition on a crypto, let's say.
Mad Maggie is going to be really interesting to watch, especially because while we're talking about gun adjustments, we just, like you said, nerfed the 30-30 charge rifle. Small nerf. I don't think is enough to take it out just yet. But the
Mm.
RE45 getting buffed with how much the RE45 and Peacekeeper were being swapped out earlier for each other, if you've got Mad Maggie and the ability to take away the safety of a lot of characters that really enjoy shotguns, like Gibraltar, like Newcastle, if you're able to destroy those abilities that let them play with Peacekeepers more effectively, and you're instead running the new buffed RE45 with the speed boost that Maggie gets, I'll be honest with you, that sounds even more terrifying than Maggie with the Peacekeeper.
And the fact that the RE45 just got buffed, I was using the RE45 a lot. And
Mhm.
okay, so let's talk about RE45 off release. Very strong weapon. The projectile size, you could feel how easy it
Yeah.
was to like skim past whoever you're aiming at. And this is coming from a controller player, by the way. Like it was extra worse, like when you're in a controller
Uh,
lobby and the projectiles would literally hone in on you. You could get away with missing almost a quarter of a white mag, and you still would be able to get that first knock off of a blue Evo shield. Now I feel like it's a lot more fair. The projectile size, I think, I'm not too sure if it was altered. No, it was a recoil actually that was messed around with. It feels a lot cleaner to slap a two times on that RE45, and even with a white mag, the projectile may not be as bad, but with just enough recoil control, and if you do the side to side like strafe control, you should be able to recoil smooth it, and it's pretty easy to land.
I think it's going to be one of the most terrifying guns in the lobby today. You clap that together with whatever Seer is bringing to the table, and I
Oh
have
god.
no doubt that I'm going to be gasping throughout today's broadcast. Now we have gotten all of our players into the lobby once again. We're going to see if everybody makes it onto Storm Point because again, we want to have the majority of players possible. And I do want to highlight real quick that we are going to be running a 19 team lobby today as No Magic was unable to compete. They should still be in a pretty good position. I'm going to double check. Where's my little tab that tells me where everybody is positioned? No Magic should still be pretty safe. They're sitting in 17th right now, so there is a chance that today they get bumped out of qualification into the finals. But we live with that. We live with that,
It
and
happens.
we'll see what happens. In the meantime, right? At least there are teams that are also competing for that spot. Order and Gam both showing up today have the chance if they're able to place in the top. I'm going to say top 7 to 15 teams, 7 to 14 teams. They should be feeling pretty good about their chances of qualifying into the finals. Maybe even locking them down for certain.
I mean, with a $500 finals prize pool, you know what's at stake out here too. You've been working hard for this since the late August, and now we're here with a new patch and showcasing those adjustments that we keep highlighting. That's why it's so important to really showcase not only the adaptability within women's comp, but what they have to deal with, right? Whether it be with the different legend metas coming in because there's no legend bans, as well as the weapon metas as they've changed.
Taking a look at our lobby right now and what's getting locked in. I'm noticing we've even got a lifeline picked up for Gam. I am seeing a lot of Mad Maggie, and there's a little bit of Seer cropping up. So this may be some of the most legend diversity that I've seen in the last couple of weeks, certainly since the season started. And I believe this is going to be our last restart. So let's jump on to Storm Point for game number 1 of the day.
Let's get it going, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm excited to be here alongside you, Dia, and the rest of the broadcast. And now we get to see where everyone's going to be landing. Again, random POIs here. So you got to make those adjustments. Of course, having that circle beep again comes in clutch when it's every POI.
Going to be going down to the southeast side of the zone, or southeast side of the map, at least for the first zone. And there is a chance looking at, say, places like where Angelite are landing over at Pylon. I believe Gam should have a scan over at Stormcatcher as well, that teams get a little bit of advanced information on where we're heading. I really like Lagoon end zones, and we've got a survey beacon right next to it as well, so Lagoon could be a really exciting place to go, but with the way that everybody's spread out right now, there's no need to take early fights, although we could see teams over at Trident, Boo, and No Magic, who are over at Northpad, actually take an engagement early.
See how everyone's gonna handle more of these chokes, especially with Cascade Falls being on that north side, closer to that ring console. It's gonna get pretty heated there with a lot of these teams in that congested northwestern part of the map. You can see already with some teams having that information, taking their time to loot up, Order 2 feeling pretty happy about it, going from Echo HQ, but there is that POI that's available to them over to the left side here while we take a look at Solus already on their quick rotation.
The move from Solus actually taking them right through the center of the map. It's such a good opportunity for Evo and running the Havoc, which now has the turbocharger potential on it once we get that farmed up. Not feeling too comfortable at close ranges with the alternator, but Kyrie, Peacekeeper in hand, is going to take the first knock.
And look who it is, too. It's the Warden showing up, mad-magging herself, even with some of these changes. Kyrie now moving in with that PK, but they did lose out. Increased step in the process. No Wraith here, trying to see if they can recover that banner.
Finds another knock to the 2v1. Phantom are down. That is our first squad out. And I do want to make a quick correction. Now that we're at 19 teams, turns out we ended up getting all 20.
Oh, okay. There you go. That's what I like to see. You get to bring everybody together here. And I'm not going to lie, you know when you still have white Evo shields and you see that the enemy has a PK, it could be so scary to take a fight like that inside a close building, but it's attracted a lot of attention. We saw how that minimap looked like earlier on with a lot of the teams already making that rotate, and now Lust are within the vicinity. No Wraith here, but they are rocking that Seer, the Mamagi, and that Bangalore.
Pretty good for Lust, who have a lot of space to work with. G7 for Scarlet. Something that I'm wondering if a lot more teams start to prioritize with the recent nerfs to the 30-30. No magic. We did mention them maybe fighting Boo out towards North Pad, and it looks like that's going down right now. Void Nexus back to the team. See if No Magic are able to stage defense. Now they've got Caustic already in setup.
Wow, they were ready. And on the other side, too, of that Void Nexus, I call it the insurance card. You got to use it sometimes here to get these resets in. And with round 1 closing in behind their backs, they could afford to take their time, but they're being held out by Boo, who are playing extremely aggressive already with full Blue Evos.
Boo's spot in the trenches. Not really a great place to play end zone from because we are so far away from the ring, but playing for KP this early actually can be beneficial if you want to get some nice points on the board before we start transitioning to our second and third map. Boo do retreat, but they're retreating right back into another fight as Clean have rolled up on them.
Oh no, Clean on the other side. I also believe the team that was at wall also got a survey beacon scan, so they see what's happening on the outskirts here. Could try to gatekeep a lot of these teams that may have to make their rotation soon. Clean taking already onto the high ground. I like seeing the difference of compositions here as a nice G7 shots landing on it smart, getting that Seer attack ready to go, and already seeing with that knock, that's another KP on the board for Clean.
Tack scan to finish that off by Riley or Oatmeal Cookie is the way that you're going to see Seer played, especially when you're going for these picks. You get the knock, you make sure nobody is around, and it is so easy to finish off the kill and get the KP. Like we talked about, some of our first points on the board for Clean, who now get to retreat back into zone number 1. They've got a little bit ahead of them in terms of the Evo that they already collected, but then the loot that you can grab in the hot dog buildings. Realistically, though, if you're Clean, you're planning on fighting all the teams they're rotating through on the north side of the map.
And there's a few of them too, right? Already you could see Kara and the Banks on the other side of each other trying to take over that survey beacon up that by that hill. So they'll inevitably come through that choke that's going to be on that slight low ground when they hear a lot of poke pressure happening.
Illusion, having lost one, smoke on the ground right now to try and pick everybody back up. And no support on the squad is going to mean that Sweet Pea has to slow heal. A lot more teams arriving, like we talked about already. 3 in the area. Clean are going to be rolling up behind this POI right now as Illusion, with their own height, maybe a little safer. Boobies, unfortunately, will not be as they are eliminated in 19th.
Caught in the middle of that rotate here. 18 squads left now as Clean trying to take this clean fight, taking up onto the high ground before another player comes up right behind them. Nice crack here with the R301. Little rare sight here with the R3 showing some love, but it's the PK standoff. You talk about some changes, Dia, but guess what? Does that choke really make a difference when it comes to the PK?
Yeah, some things never change. And the Peacekeeper being one of my favorite weapons to both wield and watch is, I think, going to be one of those things. PK, especially explosive this split. As frustrating as I think some players have found it. As a viewer, almost cathartic in a way. Clean with their push up onto this ulting Seer actually find very little in the way of resistance, but having gotten the first couple of knocks, it does look like most squads are prioritizing survival over winning the team fight or even committing to it, because you really want to make it into the next couple of zones, and that is so far away. The amount of fights that we've had early right now, yes, they've left clean benefiting, but a lot of teams suffer for this, and Illusion are one of them.
Because they're taking so much time with this zone, going all the way down to the south, north side of Coastal Camp right there. A lot of teams have already made the rotation over to Pylon specifically, but what's going to happen here to the teams that have taken these fights that will eventually have to maybe go through Ceto Station or maybe even go through Jurassic?
Jackson with the R99, maybe thinking about bringing this one back into the meta. Gold mag on it was actually pretty nice, and in a meta where we might be seeing a few more SMGs, a few more pistols come back as Mad Maggie gets stronger. There's an argument for being able to make a weapon work like that in a very close range scenario, something that Illusion did just make work even as a duo, now exiting Command Center and moving down onto Stormcatcher. Because they've still got Sweet Pea alive, there's a chance that we actually see Illusion rotate through Stormcatcher and not just hit the craft, but get next ring information that is going to be bringing us a little further south and actually toward Licks, who are on our screen right now over at Echo HQ.
Oh, that would come in clutch here, Echo HQ. Now, as some of these teams start pinging up, make their rotate up on top of the high ground. Solus being one of the squads, having that Mad Maggie Wrecking Ball ready to go, looking to see if they could take the next fight. Especially when two of these members are already at blue, and we saw Kree actually get taken out earlier on in the game, but with some nice shots off the Havoc. You talk about building into that servo, you need a total of 600 damage. You gotta work for it. Kyrie trying to put that into show.
And having taken down La Mamba Negra first, that means there's no lifeline on the other side of this. Yoimono with no reset ability are being pushed in a 3v2, and with Kyrie hitting shots like that, Gamor gone!
Too pumped. Literally every single time, and when you need it the most, you get a little revenge and you come out on top. Kyrie being your kill leader for right now. 15 squads left, and although they've taken control of the high ground, we know where that circle is going to be shifting via. They're going to still have to traverse through a little bit of open ground through the launch pad if they want to wrap around through that direction, or if they want to hit that survey beacon, if they haven't already, to the north side of where those abandoned 3 buildings are, closer to that zip line, where they could inevitably rotate to the southern choke that leaves out of launch pad.
So they spot Antidote rotating out right ahead of them. Antidote evac tower will take them a lot closer to Pylon, where we're ending up. While NG Skoden approach from the other side of the map, like you talked about, do find a nice knock, especially in the open. There's no recovering from that.
Yeah, there's a duo here too. Sheesh, you get to walk with that. Boo was eliminated now. 14 squads left as they make their next move, and Clean involved in a fight. At least full purples, looking nice here. Seeing within the Seer ult too, that's also going to try to deny a lot of people. Look how big the Seer exhibit is. It looks like the Epcot ball in Disney. But anyways, they're also going to be able to deny that opportunity from other teams that may have wanted to get that scan on the beacon on their rotate.
You see this thing about the Las Vegas Sphere doing a bunch of showings of Wizard of Oz?
Oh no!
Like 4D tornado effect. You hear about this? No, I was kind of interested.
Is that real?
Yeah. I mean, I think
that was
so.
real.
I might just be spreading misinformation.
You know what? That sounds still pretty cool. It looks pretty close to what we're seeing right there with the Seer and Antidote are just spraying out here, making the R9 showcase with just the one type. Can I see another one clip as they do? Kitty Rat. Wow, I love seeing some good R9 action right there. Gonna be able to walk away with another team wipe. Lust 2 involved in another fight as we have fights happening from all over.
King Ball even got thrown out. Lust do take a quick reset. Still need to heal their shields up, however. Seer ult provides you so much safety. I mean, I remember when Seer was meta that this was the default almost Gibby bubble that you throw down after a fight because it keeps you so safe from other teams that would otherwise want to push out. And Lust really taking advantage of that right now. Huge beam out of Scarlet. At least Terra ends up finding an answering knock. Renee down, however, does leave Lust in an awkward position. Scarlet peeks again with the R9. And Lust could still win this fight, especially with the PK and these Arc Stars being thrown out. Scarlet and Kara gonna swing together and clean up illusions.
Wow, that was a very clean fight, but a very long fight. This could invite third parties, as you can see right here. You slide in, but it looked like they had vanilla guns too, no attachments. You were already one shot. Shield swapping can't help you, especially as a duo when Clean moves up and they were out for blood.
That's one of Clean's first squad wipes of the game. They found a few kills here and there, but this is their first, come in and just clean out an entire team, albeit one with somebody already knocked. Clean have done a really good job of picking fights that are only to their advantage. They're not interested in fighting fair, they're interested in winning the game. And being one of the few teams that approach from Jurassic side, it's going to be Clean and D's that ultimately have to fight for the last team standing in Jurassic.
And what's interesting with the zone pool specifically too, Dia, is now it's shifting over to that south side of Jurassic, over to that north side by those bunker doors. They now move away from that fight in a better position as long as they can hold the high ground here and are not gate kept on the other side of those bunker doors.
They're straight up not even looking at these. They're not clearing out their backs. They're clearing out their fronts. That is one. Give me a second PK bump. Oh, we have to reload. That's my bad. Clean, however, completely unfazed by this. You see a Newcastle res in your face, and you don't even break a sweat. Lena will fall. Antidote, however, go down immediately afterwards, and Clean get a reset. There's nobody within even 10 seconds of them right now, which lets Lena fully reset, get the shield swap, get whatever heals she needs, and then prepare for the next fight.
And even thinking about just what the current meta has evolved to with the weapon meta as well, like where does this set up Newcastle and trying to get resets here when you have to think about the PK waiting for you on the other side of that knockdown shield once you get that startup res, and then the slow buildup into trying to heal also comes in naturally by being a support character. Makes it pretty difficult.
Comes with you, D's. Definitely a squad that makes me nervous right now. Order nervous themselves. Down one. They do have a pretty nice defensive setup in here. This Newcastle wall keeps them safe quite a bit, but it's still a really difficult spot to survive, and especially with this amount of focus on you. D's having committed down to the low ground, though, is huge. As we look back at this wall that separates Pylon and Jurassic, the fact that D's are separated means that they are easy pickings for Clean.
And now they just walk up like it's a free Thanksgiving feast. Now Clean's gonna be able to move up here, try to see if they can get that scan, move in as well with the Moby Beacon, so that way they could use it as some extra left shift cover. But G7 shots are landing, and Kyrie still is lighting up the feed somewhere else with that PK.
Wasn't a knock, but it was dang close, way too close for comfort. And Clean, knowing how much damage they've already done, just need to clear out the only other team that is on this high ground with them, and they're not even all on the same page. Lena's holding out squads from Pylon while this happens.
They're multitasking, and sometimes it can be a little difficult, but with the right communication, it's working out here for Clean. And Oatmeal Cookie takes the right angle now, tries to get a nice clean shot, gets the 60 first with the PK, hits an arm though on the other side. Lena, meanwhile, while taking that fight that you were mentioning, keeping out those teams out of Pylon, takes a lot of damage, looks like gets a finishing blow, and is able to get the shield swap.
Oatmeal Cookie might go down here, has the tracking through the seer. Oh, but first, Peacekeeper Pump is gonna whiff, and Clean now find themselves weak for the first time this game. Order are gonna go down. Clean at a disadvantage are gonna get pushed.
Nice, quick wind up there with the perk on the Wraith, trying to get right back to the open arms of Lena to help her out. Throws out the Cosset Trap, sees that they can try to get the reset, but it costs the life of Oatmeal Cookie. While Angelite now is also involved in this fight. PK galore, I hear it everywhere, but lacking on a choke here before they inevitably get gate kept.
No cover, no place to be. Angelite go down. Leaks with only one member left standing. Will try and reset on the low ground, and they're afforded a lot of time to do this. As Legacy owning the buildings just off the northeastern side of them. They're gonna go for a fight of their own. Quieto hiding out inside one of the few places they're still free to play in Pylon. I wouldn't call this a comfortable spot, but technically alive does still fit the bill.
Yeah, alive at what cost if you don't have a Void Nexus? Leading you into that next zone could be so difficult. They're getting gate capped, and Kyrie and Solus are waiting on the outskirts of this door. Just trying to take a different angle here. Has the Havoc, the R9 waiting for them. The Mad Maggie Wrecking Ball did come out, but you could hear with the comms that they've decided to just move forward and take Prio over the ring.
turbocharger with infinite ammo on Kyrie could kind of go crazy in the end game. I'm not gonna lie to you. That is a terrifying possibility. Legacy, who owned all these buildings, have started to peep their heads out, looking for a few kills here and there. Already 6 for the squad so far. Well, up on the high ground, Clean are gonna go down. D's finally took the fight and wiped them out.
Wow, they're taking their time here. 4 squads now left. Legacy waiting on the outskirts here. One of the teams also rocking, by the way, that Newcastle Fuse and Mad Maggie.
This is looking, I mean, good for Legacy, really good for D's as well. We're the only team left on high ground. Legacy are going to be left playing a few of these buildings, holding out squads like Quieto that come up on them, and D's can commit on the fight whenever they want.
They're just going to be able to look at everybody fighting right underneath them. Quieto is honestly in a little bit of a worse position here as long as they can try to hug their sides and get out of the line of sight of D's up on the high ground. Crystal is going to be able to try to jump all right on top of them here, but they've lost out on the crypto initially at the start of this fight. They try to get the trade, and now it's only down to Kristap.
Both things alive or Solis won't get the opportunity to. No tack means no safety, and we're down to 3 squads. Quieto, smell the blood, but remember, D's are still waiting for the third party, so Quieto can't overextend, because if you get knocked, you know you're giving up the win.
Taking their time here, D's with the altar just outside. They get the first knock with the Volt. Winnie goes down, but they still have to think about the other team still waiting outside, even if it's a solo here. You know, not going to be able to back away. They get the scan, and with the Seer, they'll have all that information within the exhibit.
Secrets is playing really well with the Ash, being the one to overextend, knowing that you've got safety in the portal to back away, and of course, with the inherent Ash dash. Looking for a little bit more. Won't find anything for right now, and it is right back up to high ground for D's. Very much playing for the win. The 12 points that come with the victory.
And still 1 solo left, I believe, for Legacy that is just waiting on the outskirts while D's are going to take their time. There's no need to overextend in a case like this, but Quieto understand that there's still 1 player right behind them, and they do have some KP that they want to extend on. If they can get this Kraber shot, they will be able to overtake D's and prioritize the high ground.
Either team. Like, it does not matter who Faria's hits. It just has to be a headshot. That's the only thing that matters for this squad. The only thing that could give Quieto a way into this game. Playing small and safe for right now. D's just keep them honest, trying to force these 2 squads together on the low ground. It looks like they're going to have to fight. Quieto coming up onto Legacy right now, and Legacy just being a duo can't hold them off.
Oh man, they have to play for second, either of these teams. They understand the situation. They know they're going to get gate kept, but how are you going to take this without losing out on the opportunity to collect the KP if you do have to forcefully play for that second place? They're looking right behind them, and Quieto are not giving this up. Tries to take another single Kraber shot. Doesn't also want to hit the back of their teammate. Misses on the next shot. Now looking around, can they surpass these? Prevent them from moving up. Quieto now with the Ultra Portal. They're going to be able to take over the building. Caustic Traps are also going to be able to try to gas them out on the other side.
Getting into the building didn't look like a bad idea to survive, but now having lost 1, that's their Kraber as well. D's are playing the outside of this fight perfectly, just pushing 2 squads together, never overcommitting onto 1. Dysfactual rather, does get up onto the high ground. Try and harass these teams a little bit more, but these have very little cover on the low ground. Maybe they've lost control. I like this move from Secrets, though, getting back up onto height. Uno reverse carding the entire lobby as Legacy have committed onto low ground and are in top 3. Taking down D's, they make top 2, and Legacy, even as a duo, could find the win in game number 1!
That was insane! The fact they got away with being able to counter-rotate around D's, hide behind the truck, get out of the line of sight of the teams that were harassing them from the other side was insane timing.
Nah. Winning that as a duo is crazy, actually. This, like, it could have been Quieto. It could have been D's. It doesn't matter who it was. You could have killed Legacy, and both teams die knowing that. This was a win that Legacy should never have been able to get, but the fact that they managed that is so wild to me, actually.
And they lost Winnie in the previous fight against Quieto, I believe, too.
Yeah.
So it's just the fact that they still took their sweet time to still have the attention on these who had the priority positioning in that final zone. And then Legacy just wraps up around after being so low, maybe even getting the res and the reset inside of that house and not trying to overextend was crazy.
And I mean, that sets Legacy up really well. We know they had a lot of kills from farming all of Pylon in the first couple of rings as well, as teams did have to exit the POI. The Jurassic side is still going to be really nice for D's, though. The fact that they ended up winning the fight up against Clean really helps out, not just in terms of the KP, but the positioning that they were able to get, taking out one, two teams, picking up a few KP here and there, but really focusing on the amount of points they were able to get from placement because of the side of the ring they came from.
And that was with Riley at one point too, holding that other side. We saw with their seer alongside their seer with the G7, and they were putting in a lot of pressure, but having that split position also split up their attention there. You want to hold that spot up on the high ground so bad, especially when part of that tree is usually in that later zone, so you could use it as some natural cover. And if you're rocking caustic, you have your own makeshift cover with your own barrels too. It's a great spot to hold, but early on, if you aren't able to prevent other teams from harassing you in that position, it can be so difficult to hold.
And just to talk about what this means for our squad's legacy, of course, are going to grab first place. This was a 14 kill game for Legacy. So taking a huge lead over the rest of the lobby. Second place is D's with 16 points. 10 points separating first and second. Clean come up right behind, despite not making it into the top 3 or 4 squads because of the, what is it, 10 kills that they had? 10 kills, and Quieto come up at fourth even after having placed second in the game, fourth place because they only had 3 kills on the way. We'll see what teams can make up ground with the one map left on Stormport before we transition onto World's Edge. These things go quickly, so we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, as we've just wrapped up game number 1 on Storm Point here in the last week of the Soul League at Celestial Cup. Vicky, that was a very exciting game. I know we talked a little bit about the scores. I want to bring up the scores since I believe we've got the asset ready now and talk a little bit more about what this means for the teams. Of course, Legacy taking the big lead with the win in our first game, 26 points. Wow.
Oof, and they got a lot of KP while they were out of here, Dia. I mean, a 5 KP for It's Only Izzy here, Winnie coming away with 3 KP despite going out right before that second to last fight, and then 6 KP going on to Normie.
I'm double checking this, but I do know that Izzy has been our damage leader for all 3 of the preceding weeks of the Soul League. And all right now, I'm just checking, top 5. Anybody do more damage than Izzy? And no, they didn't. Izzy, the only person to break 3K in that lobby, and the person with the second most damage was Winnie, also on Legacy, who just broke 2K. So Izzy's basically got a 1,000 damage lead on the entire lobby at minimum.
Sheesh. Already opening up strong. That's what I like to see. And but that was on the Fusey, right? I believe Izzy did
Yeah.
play the Fuse. Okay, yeah, and Fuse having the knuckle clusters too comes in clutch when you see so many caustics grouped up together. You gotta weed them out. I always say, gas them out themselves outside of wherever they're trying to bunker down.
It's funny because Legacy is running both Fuse and Mad Maggie, they basically do just have 2 buttons that are free damage. If they were running Caustic on top of it, they're not. They're running Newcastle, but if they were running Caustic on top of it, I mean, the team is just walking damage.
Oh, actually, like, but well, clean, I guess, on this hand would be running that Seer, Wraith, and Caustic that we did see too. And then I like to see the other iterations. We've been seeing, aside from the Mad Maggie and Legacy running with the Fuse, it's interesting because that's kind of like the odd one out. I don't believe we may have any other Fuses in this lobby, actually, except for that one team. And so seeing that iteration, and then you have the altars coming out with the portal nexuses, and then Solus running the crypto, we're still seeing that diversity and comfort picks that a lot of our players are leaning into.
And I want to give props while we've got them as well. NG Skoden made it up into 6th place as a duo. They were running
Yes.
just Ash, Seer, and walking it in. Rena picking up 3 kills on top of just surviving. 3 kills on top of their placement is a wild achievement. Again, as a duo in any lobby, but especially competitive lobby like this.
Sheesh. That's hard. That's hard. But they did it. They did it. Sixth place already, game number one. And as we keep mentioning, game number two, we are moving back onto Storm Point. But as we make the transition onto our next map, we got to see if that consistency still sticks, even if the legend consistency may change to adapt over to either E District or World's Edge.
I'm really wondering about our gun meta as well because, on Storm Point, we did mention it's a really wide open map. I still expected to see things like G7s, charge rifles, etc. The fact that I believe it, I'm going to say this, I believe it was Legacy. No, it was Solus was running the Turbo Havoc. It was
Yes.
Crest Step specifically that had picked that up. I was like, I'll say that was an interesting choice. I did not expect that in a map as wide open on Storm Point. If anything, maybe on E District where things are more mid range on average. But if we're starting that already on Storm Point, I am terrified of what Solis is about to do as the maps and the POIs end games get closer and closer together.
Thinking where are they gonna be going, Dia? Especially if they had, like, circle priority. It's a scary
Mhm.
team, but they were farming on the way to zone, and I think that's another playstyle example that we usually highlight too, depending on what the legend compositions our teams opt to go for, and I feel like with a lot of the changes we've been seeing recently in Apex Legends, both with legends and with weapons, it allows a lot more aggressive takes for a lot of these teams. That's why we've been seeing the Void Nexus be used as that get out of jail card because I feel like it actually promotes sometimes teams to get overly confident because they have that insurance to just fall back on sometimes early game.
We are going to get a few adaptations as we move into our second game. I'm noticing already Phantom, as we load into the lobby, have chosen to pivot out of the Altar Bangalore and Seer and pick up a Catalyst, which is a legend who's in an interesting spot. I mean, I like Catalyst as much as the next person, but it really is a legend that you have to carry into the end game because at least during the early game, outside of knowledge, Catalyst isn't giving you much. But in the end game, a good wall can win you a game.
I guess that is what they're banking on here too, because it's Stormpoint. You think about World's Edge coming up after this game specifically. World's Edge could have zones like that, but then imagine Skyhook in this case. But in a case like Stormpoint, having those open ground fields, maybe you feel way more confident with a wall to help you out with these rotations. And as you can see where the zone's going to be moving, we actually maybe could have an open ground end zone here if it continues to pull towards maybe the south side of Cedo, maybe on the outskirts of Barometer.
Charge rifle. It's the
Oh
only.
no.
I mean, I'm gonna be hesitant to let this meta go. As a
Mhm.
charge rifle enjoyer myself. I also, where is the Sentinel at? I mean, I know that it's not as powerful as the charge rifle, but I used to see that thing all the time, and basically nobody picks up the Sentinel anymore.
Dude, it shreds when you gatekeep a team from an Evo Harvester, because if you know that they just have white Evo, it's literally like a one-shot headshot, that's it, like, and then you win the fight after that. It's brutal, but I guess, you know how some weapons are way stronger in early game just based off of those Evo changes versus, like, mid-game when, like, things really start kicking up and you have to let it go sometimes if you know that it's just not gonna hold up against, I don't know, a PK, for example, in close range. And I feel like the Sentinel sometimes gets overshadowed because of that select fire on the charge rifle into mid game. You just two tap them and they have blue Evo. Like they're already pressured out. And then same thing, I guess, what we saw earlier on from the 30-30.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And as you get later and later into the game, having consistent close range options is critical. In fact, we saw that even out of Oatmeal Cookie, thinking back to Clean and the fact that they were fighting over at Jurassic. The consistency of the Peacekeeper at close range, maybe not quite hitting as much as an SMG, actually cost them in a single isolated fight, leading to their eventual demise as a duo. Maybe overthinking this, maybe overthinking this. So we'll start thinking about this game as Zone is pulling us a little bit more central, like you talked about, could be a little bit more open. A team like D's, who landed over at Pylon this time around, are going to have the nice opportunity to move themselves even into Jurassic should they want. With a survey beacon here, I also wouldn't mind seeing D's rotate to the south and go coastal camp for the ring console.
Yeah, although they are a little bit under pressure. You saw that these had taken a little damage earlier on with their Seer having to heal up now too. And Vino, I saw Vino type it in the chat before getting into that second game. Why didn't you guys beat each other up? Like, wondering how the two teams didn't just collapse on each other. And now coming away at the scene of the crime after what we just witnessed after game number 1, taking a little bit of pressure and now out for blood. They get the survey beacon scan, having that Seer alongside them, and they get to plan out how their rotate is going to look like, because while they are going to have to move from Pylon eventually if they want to go into that final zone, they have to think about teams like Legacy involved in this fight, who are all the way up in Cedo that will be already kind of in that center part of the zone. But Cedo here early on in a game like this with round 1 closing is always scary to be part of, because you know that this is going to be in everybody's line of sight for their pathing.
So many teams around here as well. Our winners of game 1 could be going out. Only a white knockdown shield between Winnie and Death. Killing is going to get interrupted. Norumi has to play hero of the squad, and she does. Fishy goes down. And Winnie may have escaped for now. My breath is almost held. If I weren't speaking, I wouldn't be breathing.
I honestly, I did one of those pursed lip like faces, because I was wondering, was that the third party wrapping around behind them? Because they're not alone. There's another team, as you can hear in the distance, making their rotate, showing an appearance. Their invite got lost in the mail here, as they're not the only ones too, because over to the south side, we got more teams making their rotate into Jurassic, well, rather through Jurassic, up to the north side of Cedo. And other teams now trying to make that reset. Angel Light now also going to be able to pop these Phoenix kits just to see if they can try to re-engage.
The fact that we've still got 20 squads up, it makes me real nervous, because I know that Legacy are still alive, but only as a duo. Also, speaking of the Sentinel, I do just want to shout out Clean, just specifically. I think hurt us.
Don't worry, I get you excited. And, you know, they're going to be taking their time, because obviously looking at the fact that 2 of them still have white Evo shields, technically the Caustic would too if they weren't closer into the zone. Maybe, you know, having that blue Evo shield really helps out, but looking like they're lacking a little bit on the loot department that they wanted. Playing on the outskirts of the south side of Barometer, maybe expecting this to pull more towards Barometer, while more teams like Lust involved in this fight over to the north side of Stormpoint. Renee fully healthy alongside Kara, who will be able to have those blue Evo shields with the Seer, but they lost out on Scarlet a little early.
Must always have the option to back off with the gravity cannon. But having committed Terra onto the low ground, this is going real bad, real fast. I'd like to see Lust disengage at the point that they're at right now, but a nice grenade out of Renee keeps the squad in fighting position. Solus almost ready to crawl on up and finish the fight. Playing things safe on the low ground. Will not be the first squad to go down. The second will be Boobies.
Leaving the death box on bricks right now. Prioritizing just trying to farm more of this KP and playing aggressive while they make the rotate. Again, very similar to what we've seen Solus in the past, and looks into how they like to take some of these fights. They will be taking their time though, still looking to see where those other stragglers are, because Lust are still here. They have not left anywhere. They're waiting in the distance, creeping up behind them. Beautiful shots with the Havoc. Can they follow up though is the question. You're leaving that player at one shot before they can take the gravity cannon. Oh, they get him in the air. Woo! Yeah, they got him. They got Molana.
Arcstar does actually land on the platform. Out of an awkward spot as Lust do fall a little short of it, and Renee goes down. I don't know. This is looking really bad for Lust. I'd like to see them disengage in the other direction at this point. 1v2, coming out of zone, not a spot you want to be in.
I liked the approach, but I 100% agree, right? You got it. At this point, too, you've been in the zone for how long when this fight was starting out? You could try to... you walk away with getting this res, and you pile that rotate here. But Solus, they knew they could get the reset. They didn't get the KP. They're out for blood, and they fully wipe out Lust. What a long fight we just witnessed between Lust and Solus.
To accentuate exactly how long that was, you remember earlier when Legacy went down to a solo?
Yeah.
Legacy are a 3-person squad again, playing out of Village. They're completely reset, they're farmed up, and it took that long for a single team fight to occur. And we've already got more cooking over in Jurassic.
And you may wonder, sometimes we talk about having to take these fights quickly. Being so far outside of where the zone is pulling, they could get away with that. It was an isolated fight. No one's going to gatekeep them. They already had that gravity cannon to exit out of Stormcatcher, and now over by Jurassic, D's on that Southern Choke and that 30-30, finding their shots, getting that next crack. You can see the scan here too with the Seer, but I like this spot to hold for now. You could keep your back safe with the water being right behind that DBZ building, and also make sure that teams from Barometer will also be looking at you and trying to plan your next rotate up in advance.
Phantom, who had selected the Catalyst, the only team to do so in this game, do not bring the Catalyst to endgame. They go out in 17th place, so adaptation for this game not quite working out for them. Maybe a few more experiments required in the future. But just the fact that the gamble did not pay off, I think is going to really impact Phantom in the next couple of games, even as we change maps. Big crowded rotation happening in the northeast. That's the direction that we're in. Northeast side of this zone. Over at Jurassic, have 3, even 4 squads rotating out of Pylon and through the north side. No Magic may be able to get over all of that with a jump tower, assuming that doesn't happen.
Not today. Sorry. I don't think they have another one. Oh, that's unfortunate. Wow. Honestly, I love what we're seeing from this lobby. It's been high-octane action and a lot of opportunities to grief a lot of these teams that do not really have the priority, not only into the zone, but the better position in some of these fights. Illusion now coming up with double purple, 1 blue here. Close to building up that purple, but gatekeeping by the outskirts of this next zone.
Illusion have so many teams to go through. Jurassic is going to get so weirdly crowded where none of these teams have to fight now, but if they stay here, they definitely have to fight. And it's a very strange thing where I think we'll see a lot of slow poke battles towards the north side of Barometer until eventually 18 fights break out at the exact same time and there's 1 squad left standing. And Illusion could be that 1 squad. They've got to play safe and at a distance from everyone else in Jurassic as the zone increasingly pulls us down towards the south, down towards Barometer, and these are the ultimate gatekeepers, playing the nut building that separates Jurassic and Barometer.
I'm hoping for that northern open water, like northern building Barometer end zone, because we've seen zones like that by like the spider caves will pull closer to like that northern choke. Oh, and it pulls by the bridge closer to the forest. This is gonna be a bloodbath, as you mentioned, Dia, as the shots are ringing out. And Gam right now, no shields, no Spitfire shots are hitting here in this case, only leaving Gwen alive to try to kill up with the shield bat on the altar.
Perfect example of trying to play an LMG in a PK meta, by the way. That was so rough. Gam do go down. D's rotate out of the nut building and clean up the fight, as Solus will fall as well. And D's actually Ashport all the way back into Jurassic going, I know we got these kills, but there are more waiting for us.
Oh man, hungry, trying to chase whatever they can out here with 14 squads left. I don't blame them. And I love how you bring that up too, right? Like, we talk about early gun strength, and Spitfire with White Evos could make your eyes water with a mag that big. But in this case here, and with how many squads and now ring 3 closing in the next 30 seconds, it could be pretty difficult to withstand with everyone having either a PK or 30-30. Ds are going to try to reset, but they're going to be holding on to this choke for those next 20 seconds. And they have that Void Nexus right behind them in case they need to quickly reposition.
This is the squad to watch right now. They've gotten a good amount of KP already, but their position in the lobby physically leaves them as the team to beat. Right now, we're trying to avoid them. Jump tower actually going to help evacuate, that's the word that I'm looking for, everyone from Jurassic. The fact that D's don't get any of the KP is, I'll say, quite frustrating for a squad that had otherwise positioned themselves perfectly to punish.
I felt like you were narrating Quieto in the middle of their rotate, like, help. Only because looking at a lot of teams looking at them up, I always get a little scared when I hear those 30-30s trying to catch the middle of an evac tower rotate here, but not as lucky compared to the way that Order's in position with only a duo. They lost out on their Newcastle earlier on. Bow check in hand, though, trying to take some shots at the teams that were fighting on the outskirts of that spider cave, too.
Order, who placed 7th in our last game, do need to hold on to that spot as these do collapse. So remember, we talked about them gatekeeping squads. They get at least 1 kill for their trouble. Not bad. No magic. You go down. Everybody else gets to rotate into zone. Unless, of course, you're trying to walk through Angelite, in which case you just don't get to play the game. Antidote and Illusion do both fall. And Angelite now have the entire north side of the ring to themselves. However, again, to talk about this squad because they keep being relevant, D's have predicted the zone almost perfectly and are playing the island north of Barometer where no one else is, and the next zone is pulling.
And that's why they're holding that choke out of Jurassic for so long. As long as they can ensure that their north side is clear, they don't have to worry about the teams that would have to inevitably come from the south where Spider Caves is, because they know the majority of squads with a survey beacon scan in the middle of their rotate, they saw that a majority of teams were holding Barometer. They know the rest of these teams are going to clear out their backs for them without having to split up their attention. So very good at multitasking and actually manipulating other teams' rotates, forcing them to wrap around Jurassic there.
Boo will unfortunately be one of the squads that doesn't have much of a choice in how they rotate out. They can't really push other squads around because everybody's basically got to go in a straight line. And that even includes Clean, who have to book it right towards the next zone. I will say, next ring, there is a lot of safety. We have 10 squads now. We could have, maybe not 10, even 8 or 9 squads alive in the next ring. If everybody's able to play their Newcastle walls, the caustic gas right. I don't have anything to say about it, though. This R99 putting in work for Rain. Takes down 2 even with the 30-30. Surely Boo win this fight.
Let's see. Holding their breath. You see the massive pings hiding behind the knockdown. Oh, okay. You get the hip fire shot to the Havoc and a purple mag. Easily looking around, though. Where'd they go? See the pings? Nice control here, but the PK shot doesn't land. If that second PK shot hit, that could have been the end of Boo. But it's a different story this case around as they get the res and they come out on top of that fight. 9 squads left, and Legacy are moving from underneath the bridge from that northern side of Barometer.
If Peacekeeper had worked, you would have heard me again complaining about shotgun meta versus ARs. Clean. They're disengaged. Pretty nice. Sentinel still held by Incept. This worked for them really on in the game. Let's see how long they can make this go, because right now, Sentinel has crested the mid game where it's kind of awkward and become just Your secondary Peacekeeper.
Oh,
You run out of
oh.
ammo on one, swap to the other, and hope you get lucky. Angelite and Boo will be taken down, however. We're down to 7 squads, so already less than I think we needed to have in this ring. But everybody playing perhaps a bit aggressively as
Yeah.
things do get antsy.
I mean, pinch me, I'm dreaming here, Dio, because the feed is lit up with cars and R9s, by the way, like, crazy. I say that as we see the PK light up too, but the new RE as well with a blue mag is all you need. Look at that with the one-time scope, recoil control. Now, is he just trying to chase down that one straggler? Where did the ultra go? But do you want to chase for this? You want to hold a good position here and prevent other teams from having line of sight of you.
I don't even think Izzy wants the kill. She just wants the damage. She's only at 600 this game, and she has a quota to meet. You know what I'm saying?
On a mission right now. This is the quest with the Fusey and the Knuckle Clusters, but looking on the other side, you gotta worry about the Venn diagram that's waiting for you. The Epcot ball, the World Center here in the middle of Epcot with the Seer ultimates. Legacy now slide in without a Seer themselves before sliding up closer to that gravity cannon. They have to eventually start moving in now, though, in less than 5 seconds, and they've already noted the teams that are playing underneath the bridge.
Nice moves from Legacy. This weird corner not quite in for them, but Narumi's still on Newcastle and can provide the team a lot of safety. D's do back away from their fight against Solis as 3. So with still 7 squads left, I mean, one of Solis or Legacy is going to have to go down here. And Soul, last member standing, is caught, unfortunately, between them. Likely to be taken down as, yes, Soul does fall, and Yoimono are eliminated. 6 teams addicted. One of the squad actually has a safe position. You look down on Cam and the squad, who unfortunately do not.
Crazy. You get 30-30. You get 30. Everybody gets 30-30. You get knocks for knocks, and they lose out. Oh no, on the Watson in the process. You saw that riot drill putting in so much pressure. The Mad Mag and the Warden, she's back, and she's out to play while Dux is fighting for her life. Takes some shots with the 30-30, eats out the nade, while Odd still trying to recover here, maybe with a med kit in hand or slow heals, as Legacy are trying to wrap around and take even more of these fights. Winnie, though, gets caught with the RE.
Getting swung on is a big problem. Narumi wants to go and save her teammate, but will she be able to? Winnie's on 1 HP. Silence comes through. Beacon gets grabbed, and because you're running a support, you do actually get the Moby. Lean will fall, meaning that Bees have won the fight under the bridge, and they're picking another. Vino Secrets will go down as well, but that does not affect Disfictual, who comes out with the 30-30 to try and finish off the squad. Caustic Gas will take out D's. Nothing they can do against that. And that leaves Farias and the rest of Kyoto sitting underneath the bridge, while Legacy fight for the high ground just north of, or south of them.
Feels nice to have that Caustic on your team, man. That tick up may have been changed up here, but Caustic, what is it, 250 health on a Caustic hero? When you're in the middle of a fight, that's like more than a blue Evo. Like, that's a lot of attention you gotta split up here, and that Caustic Gas being the nail in the coffin. Now, Addicted, though, not one of the teams with the Caustic. They did lose on their Watson earlier, seeing maybe if they could get a res going would be incredible for them, but Dux is just gonna keep trying to break out that Newcastle wall with the 30-30. Great shots and beautiful tactical as the headshots ring with this 30-30 from Dux.
Addicted really need to find a way in. All the pressure they applied Legacy is fantastic, but as a duo, really need to find a knock, and that's just to get even odds in this engagement. An engagement that is surely coming for you. So Ring is pressuring Addicted out of their position. They'll try and play the opposite side of the rock and use Legacy for cover, but that does not work at all, as they get turned and burned by Leaks. Nice turnaround from Odd. Does end up taking out Leaks and moving them up to 3rd, but even now, Kyoto are coming up the other side, and it is a sandwich that leaves Addicted straight in the middle. Kyoto, having one taken down on the way in, are going to look for the finishes, but Legacy just play safe. Legacy are playing for their 2nd win. Behind the wall, Izzy is laying down tons of damage with the Knuckle Cluster, and I think Legacy are walking into yet another 12-point victory.
You talk about open ground, you talk about having the Newcastle on your team, it's just free picking for Legacy. Full 3-man, and with the RE45, it is the finishing blow as Legacy are your Game 2 winners.
That's
Back to
crazy that
back.
Legacy managed to do that. Like, back to back, back to back. And in, I'll say, very different zones. Similar areas of the map, which if we were playing Pro League, I would go, well, I guess they just got 2 lucky zone pulls. But these are randomized POI drops that they're playing with and are still able to play like this. Legacy, really impressive macro, especially from like zone 3 onwards. I love the way that they apply pressure to teams and figure out where they can place themselves that is annoying to other squads, but not quite good enough to push. I don't know if this makes sense.
Yes, because they're working into their comp. That's what I'm seeing here. They are playing their comp so well. We keep highlighting all these changes and such, but again, end game like that. Imagine if you didn't have the Newcastle there. Like,
Mhm.
sure, you have the Rock to try to play around the LOS, but the final zone closing in right behind you leaves you sitting like an open duck, or rather, a duck out in the open. English. But then you hold different positioning, and you're able now to get away with having multiple aggressive angles, and you don't just wait for everyone to just go into your line of sight at that point.
Yeah, this was such a clean game out of Legacy, but I want to give flowers, props, whatever it may be, to Kieto as well, who played Under the Bridge really well. I loved the macro out of D's for the second game in a row. They really have a thing for this South Jurassic angle. I don't know why they keep going for that area to hold, but it works out for them. And we are seeing a lot of consistency across the lobby, which is really heartening. With this being our second game and the second victory for Legacy, though, you have to imagine the points for them are getting a little out of control. With the 26-point game that they had in game number 1, I think they got, how many kills was it in game 2? 6 kills in game 2. So another victory on top of that, giving them 18 points in that game, just puts them head and shoulders above everyone else in the lobby right now.
What is it, like, maybe double the points at that point? But that was Storm Point, and that's also something you could say too. Having strength, if your team knows that you could pop off specifically on one map or another, or if you feel like you end up falling off, right? Depending on the transition to what maps will be going on to. Let's say, obviously here we're going on to World's Edge, but if you feel like you're not as strong a World's Edge versus Storm Point, you soak up all those points as much as you want. That way you could start that momentum early. You could start getting ahead of the curve, so that way you could see how teams are going to start scrambling by game 5 is usually how teams start changing the way that they play, because at that point they know where they sit before that last game.
And that'll be really scary. We'll get a little bit more of a teaser of how teams like to adapt as we move into our second map of the day, World's Edge, which, as you mentioned, is going to come up right after the break.
And welcome back, everybody. Games 1 and 2 finished. Legacy sitting on top, but we're now moving to World's Edge. I am Thousand Eyes, happy to be alongside Vicky Kitty, and right now, Vicky, we're looking at a dominant series for Legacy.
Yeah, we are. And it's been a long time coming, Tessa. So happy to be on the mic with you. And I'm hearing that the action is jumping right in. And with Legacy taking 2 games back to back on Stormpoint, let's jump right into it here because World's Edge, we know with random POIs, no legend bans, things could get heated up now. A lot of our teams have already figured out where they stand after 2 games alone. There's already a big lead here in favor for Legacy, and we have to see where that zone's going to be pulling.
Yeah, and Legacy have been a team that not only mechanically have been really good, but they're also a lot of really smart players. So I've been waiting for a series like this for them, where they're not only rolling on all cylinders mechanically, but able to play the smart style of Apex that I know they like to play. So now we're getting into game number 3, World's Edge. They're right smack dab in the middle of the ring. They have all the options available for them.
And see here if they're going to be able to capitalize off of it now as we take first a look at Clean, who are practicing their Skyrim mountain climbing real quick as they're getting pressured out by a team that are on the other side here. Playing up the low ground could always make me a little uneasy closer to staging here, especially when the team gets already survey beacon info over by staging. I'm just going to assume that there's probably an Evil Harvester fight that is within the vicinity that these 2 teams are fighting over, and the altar comes in clutch so much, not only for resets that we were talking about earlier with Dia, Tessa, but also with being able to get up on high. Ooh, as the PK shots are ringing.
Not just the PK, the Senti getting a knock already. Clean wiping the floor right now with 2 knocks. They do have Incept down, but currently A-okay. I don't know if they're going to go for the finish or just try to reset here. It is very early to play aggressive.
So trade for trade here, and they try to slow things down. They are going to be able to get the res while they were looking onto the team that was trying to run away in front of them closer to staging. And as the circle continuously tries to pull down over to that south, maybe eastern side, we're going to have to see how this affects this longer fight, because other teams coming out of Landslide, Lava Fisher will eventually be making their rotate closer to staging.
Yeah, it's a question of, are these teams going to go through staging, or are they going to try and go through the tunnel next to Landslide? That kind of now becomes the big question. I'm not sure how Clean are going to handle this, because I know they like to play aggressive. I know that they want to get in there. Oatmeal Cookie, we have seen what she's capable of doing, but you could also tell they don't have the right angles for this.
They don't, and in the feed too, Gam is the first team to go out in this third game within our 6-game series, and that's pretty serious. Of course, 2 of the teams that needed to place above 15th place to qualify for that finals next week was Order and Gam, and now Gam is out, and Legacy are still taking heads and names.
And it's Izzy again. The RE45 is singing an illusion, not standing a chance. Legacy picking up right where they left off. They do not want to give up that top spot at all.
Legacy is just on another level. Oh my goodness, he got fried. It looked like an R9 on the other side. That R9 shot sometimes is a little difficult here when I believe this actually may be another fight over either by an Evil Harvester that was here that maybe D's were able to collect already, it looks like, as that one shot is just enough to bring that Seer up to blue. D's now wrap around and they wipe out Boobies.
And multiple times now we have seen how D's are trying to play to open up Vino. It has been the SMGs or the ARs to get a crack and get Vino the opportunity to just slide in with that PK and clean up from there. Gonna take a look back at Clean, who are still in the same place they were before. Senti still in hand for Incep, and they've just not been able to make any progress.
They have to make sure, you know, Dia asks and Dia shall receive. And you talk about the Sentinel early game. I mean, it helps out. It even helps out even if you have blue, right? Like, it comes in clutch, especially with how much damage you need to do to get that purple. If you land 2 headies and you already know you are profiting here, as you got to do the same thing here with the 30-30. Trying to build up that damage to get that Skull Piercer on board. Imagine how much that shot would have hurt if it did have that Skull Piercer.
Exactly, but the Sentinel does not need that hop up to hit. It just needs a shield cell, and it is hitting hard right now. But that's kind of the thing with all of these snipers, is you could get a lot of damage down, but if you're far enough away, they could just back out behind cover, heal up, and you're kind of left where you've been standing. Does seem like Clean are finally getting Quieto to back off, and that's good because they need to get moving somewhat soon.
Yeah, that zone's gonna start closing in here. Minute, less than 45 seconds, and other teams too within the vicinity looking to see who is gonna be trying to go over to that north side of staging. Maybe the teams that have taken their time playing objective to go through landslide as well, who've been hearing a lot of these straight shots here. And Yusaki taking some of those shots now, having to go through that other side of the bridge.
Miche will be healing up and will be able to get the opportunity to heal, as Boo are going to at least go up top and see if they can cover a little bit of pressure here. Lots of slow checking, and you have to with these caustic barrels around. You don't want to give your position away. You don't want to give free damage. Boo having to play slow.
Calm before the storm. They're going to be left alone. They're going to be able to rotate through staging. Everyone's already scattered here. And I like this call, too, because where this next zone is pulling, it's going to get chaotic. And I'm actually expecting a lot of teams to coexist in a zone like this, Tessa, because it's going to be pulling over to that south side of Lava Siphon. And there's a lot of spots for some of these teams to just congest one another in these buildings, sharing more of these floors.
Exactly. A classic Lava Siphon zone of just tons of teams holding these buildings, especially with the amount of Watson that we see in women's comp. Lots of teams that are going to just set themselves up inside the building and never leave.
It's interesting too, right? You talk about the Watson, and Watson being as strong as she is too, and the altar almost got a kidnap, by the way. Like, y'all almost got me. A for effort. And then the 12 damage on the PK shot. You hate to see it, but at least getting out of that trouble. And that's something else. You talk about these long sniper fights allowing for resets. That Void Nexus also helps so much, especially if you feel like you're about to get 3-peat. I mean, how many times did we even see Legacy themselves were able to get a reset? And that's without the altar, by the way. That's just with the Newcastle alone.
Exactly. There's just a lot of time in the current meta, especially because Ashe is starting to fall out. We don't have that go button. You don't have that, like, get a crack or a knock. And at the very minimum, get the Ashe dash in, or use the Ashe portal to just jump in on a team. Can't do that now. Angelite still wanting to run the Ashe on Ellie. I've spoken to Ellie. She thinks that Ashe is still just as strong, just a little bit weaker on the snare. And they are going to still play aggressive, it seems.
I like that, you know, being able to rely on that go button if you could at least traverse through this open space of just sniper galore. As Lust now down to a duo after losing out Renee a little earlier. Scarlet just trying to take a different angle. They called him the exhibit. They have information, and look how one-shot that player is across the field.
We'll get the heals off to stay standing, and Lust. Again, they're just trying to gatekeep right now. They want to try and take this team out so they can move in a little bit cleaner, especially as a duo. You do not want to leave your backside unattended, but they might not have the opportunity because Clean are making the move. Lena, Oatmeal Cookie, they're low HP, but Incept healthy enough to make the moves. Lust will go down.
I love that Lust comes out on top, but this is what I was worried about. Taking your time outside of zone, Boo heard all of that, and they're one of the teams running the Seer. They will be able to try to gatekeep this team once they inevitably have to get out of zone, and it did look like they were struggling a bit on meds. Yes, they're going to be able to loot up those boxes right at their feet, but now this is where it starts hurting a little bit. Round 3 will close in the next minute and less than 20 seconds, and Solus are already inside that next zone, rather to the south side of where that next zone is going to be pulling, but playing a split position so that way they could prevent the other teams from taking where they want to sit once they go into that zone.
It's not just to, like, they get to clean up those boxes, but those boxes were another team sitting in zone too, so they're blowing through some of their meds as well. As we're going to take a look back at our top team right now, Legacy forcing this team out with the knuckle cluster, the fuse putting the pressure down. Gonna go for the shield swap while Witty comes in to clean up, and D's are out.
Those RE45 shots, can we talk about the collat back-to-back off that burst off of a gold mag on that RE? What the? Okay, all right, that's crazy. I mean, I love that. Love being able to see the different weapon diversity with the recent patch changes that just came into play today. As Legacy now, wow, jumping around and dancing around that zip line though, as the 30-30 shots are trying to find their mark. The Wrecking Ball may have hit the strike there, but they cannot push on this because they are getting pressured by a team behind them.
Legacy drop down for this. They want to get in their face. They know they have the ability to, and they're looking to farm once again. Another knock onto Maddie, and that will be Angelite eliminated. Another top team down. Legacy running the gauntlet right now, and they are in first place.
I think it's also interesting to know, by the way, that Izzy, I believe, has that amp up with the unlimited ammo for now, too. So being able to see that and just farm out the 30-30 shots to get another knock. Legacy are farming today.
Already have 2k damage. I know we've been talking about the damage. 2k damage on Izzy already. 5 kills. We still have 12 squads to go through, and they're not letting up the gas pedal for a minute. Izzy's gonna go for the flank on the other side.
Legacy, they have a family. I mean, playing out of their minds. They're wanting to keep taking this fight. They want to keep getting aggressive, but they got to be careful. They're in the line of sight of this squad as they call it the exhibit. You try to get some of these hip-fire shots. It looked like some of those initial shots not landing its mark here. Izzy now having to climb up, try to get out of that gas that is doing so much of that damage, as you mentioned, Tessa.
When he gets picked back up, but now there's a third party coming in. NG Skoden have been eliminated entirely. Legacy using the Newcastle to get their reset, but Soulless are coming in on this, and they do not want to give a chance for the reset.
Oh, make way! The Wrecking Ball is coming! PK shots as Soulless trying to feel out their comfort zone. We know how they get, and they play very aggressive, and when they have the opportunity to take a clean 3v3, they will take it as they wipe out Legacy out of this lobby.
Finally, Legacy can bleed. They are not immortal. They go down, and we're going to see a new winner for the first time here in Game 3. Quieto also going down in the kill feed as Licks down around where Soulless were. It's a possibility we got a fight between these teams. The charge rifle hitting as Licks will back away, pick up some of what has been left behind. 8 squads remaining, round 4 about to start closing.
Little breadcrumbs here while Soulless, they're going to keep an eye over to that exit point that they just walked away from as Lick Moons now wrap up right behind as well. But the majority of the teams will be coming out of Lava Siphon. This zone, again, is still pulling closer to Lava Siphon, more so on the open ground south side of Lava Siphon. And I really like this move now from Lick Moons, being one of the teams with the altar. Once again, having that portal allow you to take high ground for free, it comes in clutch. And when you are Bangalore, utilize that double time just to try to get out of that trouble.
Looking back at Soulless, who were sitting on the high ground now, starting to give that up as they have to move forward. Charge rifle still in hand as well. They want to play from this distance, just poke these teams out, and they're doing a great job of that. The scout helping as well. Kree gets a knock onto one of Lick's members, and they're going to push forward. Also just firing the Havoc for a little bit extra, and now we have a new kill leader. 7 kills on Krista.
We need to study Soulless and the Havoc, because something about this weapon right now, when it's in one of these players' hands, is just crazy. And Kree, feeling herself, slides in. Nothing else needed here. The Havoc and PK, all she needs, but they have to watch out, because in the distance, Thermites are being hurtled in their direction, and Clean are looking at them.
And it's such an ugly zone, too. It's not one of those Lava Siphon zones that has a lot of cover to work with. It's going out into the open. If you're going to use cover, it's going to be from ducking down here where Oatmeal Cookie is. You have to take low ground, and that doesn't feel good either.
Now, it's always so tricky, too, because you want to try to stay over by Lava Siphon, but when it pulls so towards the outskirts where really the only cover you have are those rocks to try to get out of line of sight of other teams, it can get tricky because then you get lost in the sauce, you lose out on your position, and then you find yourself on the low ground when other teams can just walk away from Lava Siphon without getting pressured. As now, Yohino trying to recover. Soulless now moving up to try to take another fight after they get the initial knock with the nade in hand. Kyrie and Kree walk up and finish off Phantom.
And Soulless have had a rough couple of weeks. This has been one of the top teams for a long time. Kree has been a leader of Soulless throughout its multiple iterations. And now they are coming back into form. Morvana filling in today instead of Techni, and it might be the key that they were missing.
Sometimes you have to make some of these changes here. See what you need to do. So now, Order also coming up from the higher ground in one of those buildings of Lava Siphon, but they're not alone. There's another team playing right underneath them, but they have to look over to their right. Another squad showcasing their appearance, holding a split angle here. I like the way this team that Order is fighting is taking these different spots. They're isolating one another as Order is sticking together, playing up the strength of the Caustic. He punched them out!
There was just, they just all had to reload, and they just fist fought it out, get the win to get D-Wiz fully thirsted, and now Order's still up. This was one of our teams that we said needed to get 15th. They're currently top 4 in this game.
I just witnessed a crime. Just jumped that guy right there. Soulless. Kyrie has to be careful. Oh no! You just got griefed by your own Newcastle. That timing was so unfortunate. The Newcastle wall was propped up just as the animation of, by the way, the fast new animation, it can kind of catch you off guard. It caught me off guard earlier today. The fast animation, 25% faster, I believe, of the release of the Wrecking Ball, and it hit the back of that Newcastle wall. But it's fine. They still have their Newcastle wall up, and at least they have the speed pads if they can use it in case another team tries to wrap on the other side.
I also just, this is a small thing, but I love Order using the altar passive to just grab loot for the whole team. It's not just selfish play, it is grabbing for everybody to utilize to make sure you're as strong as possible as this final ring will start to close. Clean on the side right now, missing Incept, missing that shot caller, and Clean will have to figure out some way to get a second.
I have to point out that oatmeal cookie avoiding that missile right there. I would have definitely gotten hit even if I was in the same exact spot. That was literally like a pixel away. But as they're gonna be wrapping around and trying to avoid more of these fire drills, Kyrie is the one that's hurtling it in their direction. Does get the hit marker there on some of the caustic traps and the crack off the G7 scout shots. Hitting here, RE45 has that secondary, and they're trying to get that res as they pull it off right before their eyes.
You see nades flying in, Soulless have Ring coming right to them. It's very south for this. They have the capability to just play this slow, let these teams walk into them. In terms of ground, they have the least to cover.
Take their time. They're also just trying to prevent other teams from going in down that middle side of the tube. There's still a solo left, by the way, with 4 squads left in this final zone. As it closes up right behind Solus, they have to make sure they don't get wrapped up on. They're trying to harass this team that they've been fire drilling the whole time. But with the Havoc and the turbocharger, that's all you need to finish a fight quick enough.
Solus still fighting this out. They're taking a little bit long to get this team fully gone, and they still haven't been able to do so. They've got to turn back around against the Newcastle Tactical, causing some problems. And Solus just can't finish these teams off. They have to take some time to heal.
It's hard here, though, because they have to make sure that both of these teams will just push on them, and it's Order from the other side who are also trying to harass him, who were looking for that rat originally. That finally gets called out. It's Yoimono who get eliminated in 4th, but these shots, the Havoc, the triple take, it's just inevitable before everyone goes into the open arms of Solus as they win game number 3.
Solus able to come out on top. Dominant performance, a revival of sorts for Solus to get back on their feet, not just in this series, but as a whole, as a team for the last couple of weeks. They have struggled. Very happy to see them pop off as hard as they did in this game. Also want to call out Order with the 2nd place, and they were playing that well. Really smart placement of the Newcastle Tactical, the caustic gas, just not enough HP or cover to work with.
It's hard. It's hard when you had used your Newcastle wall slightly earlier, just so that way you could try to work out some cover when you've already taken so much damage. It's inevitable. And then when you feel like the other team is getting their attention split up, you still have to focus on the rat that's wrapping to your left, so that way you don't get griefed at any point. But the awareness there, the time in that Newcastle, they had to do what they had to do there.
Absolutely. Solus able to get what they needed from that, and they're going to get a big boost in points, but we're going to have to check our scores after the break, so we will take a quick one and be right back after this. And welcome back, everybody. Game number 4 just about to get underway. Dia joining me in for that. I want to take a quick look, though, at our scores before we get into this next game, because we do have a little bit of a shift up.
Yes, Solus. Everybody should know Solus dropped a nuke last game. The
Yes.
reality still remains that Legacy had won 2 games before that, so they're still in the lead. But Solus are now 11 points behind them. God, imagine dropping a game 3 like that and still being 11 points
A
behind first place.
31 point game 3, by the way. They got 31 points. They are still 11 points behind Legacy.
That's crazy. Also, real quick, other thing about that game, Kyrie also broke 3K. The only other player to have broken 3K today besides Izzy.
Besides Izzy still top damage. However,
Mhm.
I do want to call out to one of the teams that we were looking at, Order, who needed to get in that top 15. They are currently 7th. They are doing great as far as what they have needed for the day.
Yeah, this is looking like we'll see Order in finals. Gam, things are a bit darker. Sitting at 19th right now, they've got 3 games to make up about 4 to 5 places, probably a few more than that, just given how the games have gone so far today. But the fact that Gam are technically playing above Boobies does mean that their road is a little easier. Because Boobies are currently sitting 20th, and that is a particular underperformance for the squad, who we've actually seen in finals pretty consistently.
Yeah, they have had a little bit of a struggle today, and it is not the day you want to have struggles. Like your final opportunity to qualify now, as we are in game. Looking at the map, our ring likely going to be taking us up a lot more north than we were in our previous zone. Looking like epicenter area will be our final ring, but
Mhm.
does mean a lot of these southern teams now harsh choke points to get into that monument fragment area.
Oh my god, you're actually so good. Can I just say you're so good? 'Cause you said epicenter and I was like, are we? But then I saw it and I was like, wait a minute.
I have
This is kind of
studied the ring,
crazy,
Dia.
actually.
I have
You're a
studied the
student.
ring a good bit.
Wax on,
So, yeah,
wax
and as
off.
we take a look, yeah, our ring taking us up there.
Literally perfect. Right on top of Order, right on top of Gam. Both teams that needed to perform today. Like we said, Gam falling a bit behind in this, but with a ring console right on top of them in Monument, surely things get a little bit easier.
Hopefully, Legacy, we take a look, who are very southern, will have to fight their way through, but they have not had an issue with that so far today, and I don't think they're going to have an issue with it now, because they have just sprung the trap onto their opponents, and Legacy, I think, will finish off at least these 2 kills, if not more.
Yeah, that was a very, very nice trap to have laid over at Dome, knowing that there's no possible way that Dome could see you coming or would anticipate this move. It's that kind of instant flexibility across POIs on World's Edge that does make this a particularly exciting game. Not the squad wipe yet, but as I say that, Lick moves will expire, leaving
is
Legacy
kill
with the
leader?
first 3 and very fast kills in the game.
And who's kill leader? It's Izzy. Of course it's Izzy. Why would it be anybody else? Izzy on top. Gonna take a look at Angelite, who have had a little bit of a slow day comparatively to their previous weeks. Granted, that has been 2 out of 3 possible wins in in our series, so hard to keep that pressure up, but they have been noticeably slower here. Fishy having to back out and heal as Ellie takes point and looks around, does find a member of the opposing team.
Ellie undaunted, even after being scanned, just does what she does to back up, the Fishy looking over her. Nice crack with the Havoc. Ellie and Crestip really convincing me on this Havoc today. Seeming quite nice, and with the turnaround, this makes it a 1-for-1. That he's still alive, but Fishy getting rezzed on the high ground both requires medical attention and also is distracting from peeling for Ellie, who has done enough damage to find yet another knock on the low ground. Rain falls as well. Now it's time to pick up Fishy and Angelite. I think I've done plenty here. Their reset should go off without a hitch, and we should have 1 solo running for the hills.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Havoc. I know Ellie was running the Havoc even beforehand, and she was telling me that she believed it was strong already. So to see it now picked up, Ellie, I know has the capability to handle that gun. It is one of those guns that is a little more difficult with the kick that it has. I know for a fact Ellie is capable of hitting those shots, and she's showing that today.
We definitely had a lot of good things to say about her in the last day of competition over in week 3. Maybe, again, with a few good games, the Angelite could put themselves back on the radar as a, oh my god, Ellie!
It's not just the Havoc. It's apparently just Ellie is the greatest to ever do it.
Still the controller or MNK?
She's MNK.
Oh my god. That's just... I can't even disrespect it. Not that I would ever disrespect it there, but I might...
You might consider.
I might say something. I might consider
Right.
it, you know?
Right,
You
yeah.
know?
Not that you would ever, but the
thought
thought would enter your brain.
Yeah, exactly. I'd go, do I? No.
But do I?
We'll think about it later.
Yeah.
Angelite, reset and survey camp. Again, this is largely where the ring is going, so they actually can play a much slower game. And the nice thing is that most teams haven't actually predicted that we're going all the way to survey camp because it's so far north. A lot of squads have chosen instead to sit over in Monument. Even Illusion are doing a very similar thing right now, just playing for control of these buildings, because if the zone pulls here, your position is safe for so much longer.
Yes, but you're still running. I don't know if these teams realize how much of a risk this is, because even holding these northern buildings in Monument, if that ring does go up further north, which it will, it almost assuredly is going to go up towards survey camp at this point. You're now up against a literal cliffside that you have to go up. And that is difficult for what a lot of these teams are currently running. The altar will help, but it's still a difficult push to make out of these buildings, especially if everybody else is doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think you've got to be much more comfortable if you're somebody or a team like Clean who have Incep, who's comfortable on Wraith, that does give you a very different kind of flexibility. It's rare in, say, ALGS that we see people running Wraith when Altar is available, but a pick like this, you really get to see the extended value of the way that Clean are playing, because they can hold these buildings with so much more ease than any other squad. Tune back in with Angelite. We're continuing to find success. This ring really working for them as they are just cleaning up squads that keep entering survey camp without Angelite's permission.
They just executed bootleg Garfield plushie. I don't know how I feel about that.
That's so... I could never tell.
Women's Cup has good names. I don't know how to tell you this. Luster just out, by the way. And she's going to take them out. That is wild.
That was... I'd say a bit unlucky, to be honest.
It's unlucky, but also good shots for the 30-30.
Yeah, yeah. And G Skoden's journey not quite over, as they do have a single solo more in front of them. Boo will go out this game, not turning around the 20th place that they found themselves in moving into it. Unfortunate end for them, but Boo have just seemed a little bit disjointed, not exactly sure what they want to do on the macro game today, and it's costing them, and it may even cost them their spot in finals.
Yeah, I also do want to point out, taking a look at our ring, it is dropping back down south. It has juked us. It is going back into more of the epicenter northern monument area, and it will be difficult now for teams like Angelite who have set themselves up on that northern side.
Gotta love Addicted's position, though. In a zone like this that does go a little further north, playing the icicles outside of epicenter can get you so far. Fortunately, you drop down to 16 squads. As Stolas look for yet another fight. It's actually going pretty well for them, as Riot Drill does buy Kyrie a lot of space, and Kyrie's been doing very well today, even in the game that they just had, where Stolas ended up winning. We saw Crestep putting out highlight reels on the Havoc. It was Kyrie who quietly did the most damage on the team.
Yeah, Kyrie was picking up the kills, but Kyrie was putting in the work, and Looking to try and do that again. The drill putting in that work once again. Will not get the crack, but just barely. And they're actually going to lose a member here. Kree has to drop back over to the portal, but they have the new castle to reset. Kyrie falling back as well.
On foot, just, you know, walks it back, doesn't take the portal.
I'm better than
Legs
that.
it going, you know what? I dare you to shoot at me. And NG Skoden, to their credit, do not. Renaissance tempting fate by hovering in the air in a lobby where anybody could be looking, but does not get punished for it. Instead, it'll be a very tight battle over this choke point. NG Skoden don't want to give up the building behind them, but they certainly don't want to give up the choke in front of them. And it's left them in this weird, not quite a spot you can hold area. If anybody walks up from survey camp, they'll be in trouble.
Ellie falling now, and Angelite may get pushed. They do not have a quick res character, so they are going to have to play this one without Ellie for the time being, and it is Legacy that are pushing them of all people. They are going to use that fuse ult and see there is an opportunity to jump up whenever we can get up there. Izzy struggling a little bit, but not even needed. Legacy just take them out with impunity.
Izzy mauling over no damage farm.
Yeah.
Griefed by Bannister.
Griefed by the wall, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Not
look,
not
I
terrible.
can't climb those easily, right? Like, I think it's more realistic if there's a bit of a struggle sometimes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're not saying
Yeah,
in game. You're saying like if it was actually in front of you, that would.
You're right, yeah.
I agree.
I want realism
Use-
in my Apex Legends as we
That's
look
what
at
we're all looking
the robot legend Ash who can dash in multiple directions.
Yeah. Why not? Seer who can smell you through walls. If Lil Nas X had a really good sense of smell. You know that meme, right? The pretend you're Morgan Freeman coming to kill me. You know that one?
No.
No, you don't know that
No,
meme?
so-
Everybody look up that meme right now.
Yeah, I don't know this, so I am just confused right now. But I'm not confused about Kree hitting the Kraber to allow Solus to move up a little bit, but the Seer Q will push them off just a little bit. The fact that you are seen moving up is going to make teams play a little bit slower.
This Kraber, such a huge opener. The fact that we've gone Kraber Havoc and not Kraber PK does say a lot for Solus, specifically Crestep's read on the meta. Havoc being pulled out one more time, they will fall.
This is Legacy now.
Squad ahead of them is unfortunately having one fall. Mono will go down, but you did mention Legacy moving up on this, and they absolutely are. Wrecking Ball comes out.
Ooh.
A lot of Solus have already backed off, leaving Legacy in a bit of an awkward spot, but still a recoverable one. And Solus will likely have to push back onto NG Skoden, but Legacy won't be there for the third party.
Solus do not have Kyrie thanks to the pressure from Legacy, but they are not. Oh no, they are getting pushed actually. It is NG Skoden who are moving up, and the Newcastle having to get the team back up. Looks over, sees it, does not want a piece of it. Maybe getting a little bit too big for her britches. Exodia having to jump back over, does finally get the kill, and NG Skoden will knock Solus out.
The mobility is huge out of Exodia, and I love the Void Nexus that goes down right after. Even as you've got a knocked member of your team, poured out, reset, and then take on Legacy. The squad to beat still, even though they didn't, win the last game. This is still the squad that is in first place. Illusioners has gone down as the games get bloodier and bloodier. Addicted start walking up on Legacy, and this is giving NG Skoden a huge chance to reset. They're sitting up at Grandma's house. Nobody's pressuring them, and NG Skoden are still the sandwich to the Legacy vegetables, meat, tofu, whatever you have in between the bread.
Could be a lot of things, right?
Could be.
You can make a lot for a sandwich, right? Like the technical qualifiers for a sandwich are very low.
I don't know what the... No, it's fine. We'll talk about it after the game. We'll talk about it after the game, but bookmark the conversation about what the most historically important sandwich is. Legacy do manage to hold on the low ground, however, sustaining through the pressure of this insurmountable Chiabata bun that they're stuck between.
I was right there ready to pick up, and then you said Giovanna. That just
And then it was
threw me
over.
off. Yeah, no. Edgy Skoden running with the Kraber that was in the hands of Kree. Maybe the Kraber's just, it's just the Kraber, but Ren does get a crack there. And that will give Edgy Skoden the opportunity now to move up inside this awkward ring that is going right towards the train station outside of Monument.
Left in this Kraber. I mean, there cannot be that much. And as
believe
I
there were
say
8.
that, looks like the 30-30 or budget Kraber is going to do its job, taking out at least one member up on high ground. Clean. Have Oatmeal Cookie. Peacekeeper extraordinaire holding things down on the low ground while Incep tries to get
No,
out.
you can't go
The
back in.
caustic gas gets burned by the zone. Cleaner out. Phantom are out. And Kiecho emerge from Monument. Still alive for now, but they've got 2-3 squads in front of them.
A rough place for Kieto to be, but in a live place. Nonetheless, Order, as we have seen, have been in this area for a while. Pamatica will look for the shots with the charge rifle, and I don't know if Order are making it out of this one. They will go down in 9th place.
You gotta put Pup in melee range for those fights. Kiecho wouldn't have stood a chance then. Wow, there's a lot of bullets left in this crate. No Magic seems to have rolled one on the low ground, but that is 9 chances to make a huge difference in your game, and especially as a duo, it's going to be extremely welcome.
A good Kraber shot will make it a duo, 2v2.
That's even the game never really felt right to me, but it'll have to do. Kiecho pushing up on this building, a building that is not in zone. They have 3 squads fighting each other to the death over a building that isn't going to keep them safe for even the next 45 seconds.
Yeah. Never change women's job. this is the classic here. Kieto want blood, and they are going to get it one way or another. It does not matter if it is the opponent's or their own. They will throw those nades in. They also know there is more than one squad they need to worry about around here, so they are going to play it a little bit safe. Speaking of, looking
Legacy
at
out.
D's, who do have themselves a rotation into the next ring. We are getting out of Monument here, which means a lot of these teams are going to lose their cover they've been relying on.
So much fighting up on the high ground again with Legacy gone. NG Skoden now own the high ground, but Kieto had to stop with this rotation because D's were right in front of them and now are going to have to fight each other. Every squad in Monument is fighting, while up on the high ground, NG Skoden have all the time in the world. Hit it.
Kraber does not get the damage, and the Havoc in Ren's hands as well will put out a little bit of pressure. The nades coming out as well. And NG Skoden have all the time in the world. Gam go down in 3rd, and NG Skoden going to fly down for their victory. Going for the 360, doesn't pull the trigger, but I think they've got the win nonetheless. NG Skoden take game number 4.
Gee, that was very foreseeable for NG Skoden. As soon as everybody had to leave Monument, that was a hands off the keyboard kind of moment. Aim with, I don't know, aim with your feet at that point. That was a clean finish, but the fight so critically was macro determined this time, as opposed to last game where we saw micro be so important for Solis in these final 3v3v3s. This time it was all about control of the high ground, and we really saw that, especially with the fact that Legacy and NG Skoden were itemizing, or I guess prioritizing, this is a better way to say it, up on height, up by Grandma's house, before really anybody else. We saw Solis try and fight up there, didn't quite work out for them, but this was so clearly the power position that transitioned into a very easy to execute endgame.
They were not the first team into Grandma's house, but they were the last team out, and that meant they got the high ground close by. When Legacy fell, at that point, it was just, once Addicted was gone too, you just get to take that high ground and watch the ants filter out from Monument as the ring starts to close. It is pot shots for them from then on, and they do get a very easy victory, which will help them out a lot in the points.
Yeah, this is really gonna help. I actually want to double check the scoreboard. That was game number 4, and so as of right now, I will say, small spoiler, Legacy still lead. This was a really good game for them. Solis have fallen behind a bit due to their placement. Kieto and NG Skoden, of course, really catching up. But for a little bit more on the scoreboard, we're going to take a quick break and then come back with it. Welcome back, everyone, to Celestial Cup here in the Soul League week number 4. It's Dia and Vicky back. Thousand Eyes was fantastic to take us through World's Edge, and it was so nice to have her guiding us through this. I remember last week casting with Thousand Eyes is just a lot of really great insight because she's around women's comp so often. I'm sure you felt that as well, Vicky.
Oh, absolutely, and she's so good at calling out, like, the different play styles and how some of these fights are gonna be engaged too, especially with a different approach with not only a new patch, right, but with being able to stick to these different legends, and now as we transition onto these different maps, it's hard to keep track, and Tessa's always on top of it.
Fun fact about this: Tessa was the first person I ever cast Apex Legends with back an
What?
unamount of years ago. That was our first cast
An
in Apex together.
OG,
Yeah,
OG from day number 1. I love that, and it's
pretty
to be able to see the growth that we've had within women's comp, from play styles to teams that have migrated over to even team shifts, right? We know roster mania is always a highlighted topic within the competitive Apex Legends space, and it doesn't stop here at women's comp too. So it's also been very enjoyable to see how a lot of these women have been able to flex into these different roles, and we are moving on to E District 2 next, Dia.
And E District is the place where I think I find it personally most difficult to predict exactly what teams are going to come out on top, even when we have POI draft. And here we don't have POI
Yeah.
draft, which
Yep.
makes things even more complicated. Teams are going to be basically dropping completely random points around the map, and that makes it very hard to predict exactly who comes out on top, especially because the macro around E District can be so forgiving. There are a lot of different ways into zones, and as long as you're thinking ahead by 2 or 3 steps, you should be set up to survive from the first ring till at least the third or the fourth. So, seeing what fights break out and when is going to be especially telling because you've pointed out, Vicky, that this is also where the games start to get really bloody.
Yeah, because we are entering game 5 territory. And at this point, a lot of our teams have already figured out where they've stood, how aggressive they need to play, whether they need to play more for positioning for end zone. And as you've already mentioned, Dia, E District has a huge survivability theme that surrounds around the map, especially in competitive play, because there's so many spots to coexist. We even have end zones though that usually end up pulling away from some of these spots, but because of how many buildings there are in each district, and because there's no legend vans, all I could think about in my mind is how many kidnaps are we going to see? At least the attempts with Alter,
Mhm.
with maybe Wraith. You know me, Dia. I like some chaos sprinkled in some of my
It's
Apex Legends
it's
games.
it's so crazy. I was actually watching a scrim that was like everybody piled in E District buildings that were like 3 floors high with 18 altars in the lobby, and everybody was literally just porting through floors back and forth. It was like an elevator up and down the building, and you see that so often on this map that with no legend bans, honestly, Lord help us. I have no idea how we are going to get into an end zone without everyone being permanently invulnerable. But the way that the games have gone so far, of course, NG Skoden picking up a big win. I do want to touch on the bigger implications of today's games as well,
Mm.
because coming into game number 4, GAM was in a really difficult spot. They are one of our teams that hadn't made the finals as many times before and needed to place extremely high today, and by extremely high, I mean above, I think it's 13th place or something like that. They were sitting in 19th. After game number 4, where they managed to place third, GAM are now actually in a qualifying position to the finals. They're sitting 12th right now, and if they're able to hold on to that position coming out of this game and throughout the next two, we could see a team completely reverse their fortune in the last half of the games.
It's literally, yeah, 2 more games to go, and this is where the tension gets high if you don't have that safety net of, "Hey, I was able to do what Legacy just did and get 2 back-to-backs on Storm Point." Now they could chill for a little bit, even if they're not gonna be fragging out as crazy as they can, and in Legacy's case, they could grief some of these teams that may find themselves on that cusp. it's crazy because now you still have E District. Now you have to lean into these different rotations with E District, with probably the plethora of altars, wraiths, ash, you name it. Newcastle's being able to bunker down. Then you have a wrecking ball hurtled in your direction, and you got to be pretty comfortable. And you talked about something that I, as somebody who's picked up altar within the last few months, that I think is really interesting, and I don't think it's ever going to get changed. And there's a timing to it, but there's a jump crouch that you could hold at least on mouse and keyboard, which is funny because I was just talking about controller, but it's a little bit easier to explain on mouse and keyboard. But I believe if you hold crouch while at the same time of tapping jump, you could actually jump in between the altar portal while simultaneously shooting, while also still taking your portal back, because the crouch acts as you doing an action on your portal. So you could try to, I know I just said a lot of words, but you could literally the TLDR is you could basically portal dance while trying to simultaneously shoot without putting yourself in a vulnerable position that alter will do sometimes. When you feel like you're alter and you're clunky and you can't go back in your portal, it's because you're not pressing crouch jump, but you could actually activate it simultaneously.
Okay, because you're not inputting a new movement command that moves you through the
Correct.
portal. Okay,
Correct.
okay, your status
Correct.
has to change. So what I'm
Yes.
hearing is that you can shoot while being mostly invulnerable is the big takeaway here.
I don't think fully, because you still are an active hurt box, like when you
Yeah.
shoot. But if you're, let's say you're just trying to poke, you could literally portal dance. And now imagine doing that if your caustic comes in and throws a Nox gas grenade. Have fun, like everyone's gonna
And so
go for it's gonna look like a rave, honestly, with all the lights.
I really appreciate hearing you say that as well because when you said the word hurt box and I was like, that's right. That's Mickey right there. Get ready
You love
for
it.
yeah, for the E district for the movement tech, it is clear that you're min-maxing the movement even on controller. You're at least studied up on it.
I have to know what I'm facing off against, okay? Sometimes
Mhm.
people be griefing me, and you know what? If you don't know what your enemies could do, then how are you supposed to counter predict and you know what, track them? And the FGC terms, we go way back. We got to talk about some things that come out frame one, and if you're frame one invincible, and I can't take shots at you, and you're getting a better a positional advantage on me, we about to have a problem, and we may be able
That
to see something like that on E District.
I hope so. I hope to God we do. Especially if we get more of Pug just fisticuffing people on order, then we'll go into the full Smash commentary moment. As it is right now, it does look like we've got a stable E District lobby. So let's prepare for some E District, for some stacking, for some frame one invincibility, and most importantly, for some good old fashioned bloody Apex Legends.
Let's get it going, everyone, as we dive into game number 5 on E District. The stakes have been set here. We have to see where our legends will be dropping.
Looks like at the moment, Boo an Energy Bank and Soulless roll Lotus. That is a big buff. I mean, I'm always going to be looking to the team that rolls Lotus because it is such a power pick POI. A lot of people really like to start here, and for good reason. It's got great rotations out of it. It's got fantastic loot, and the priority onto the whole northern side of the map, especially in a game where it does look like we could be pulling a little further north off of Zone 1, is going to be really good for Solus. The fact that they've got a ring console as well, the squad currently sits in second, and they're second by a margin of 18 points. But if they can make that up between they and Legacy, this could be the game to do it.
See, especially with, I don't know about you, Dia, but I feel like E Districts really does have a lot of northern zones. You talk about a better rotation opportunity, being able to see whether it be outer electro dam zones, which in this case it isn't, of course. We see it trying to pull over to that southwestern side of Lotus, or even north of Neon Square. It could really come in clutch. I also feel like Humbert Labs isn't too bad, and you have to predict where some of these evil harvesters spawn preemptively and which teams may be able to get a better rotate. As we already see a fight with Legacy, your game winners for game number 1 and 2, already having a troublesome time on our first game on E District, losing out on 2 and leaving Winnie as a solo.
This one already said spooky. Jam applying even more pressure. 2v1 win the fight. Legacy go down, and that is this constant Humbert Labs and Old Town dynamic. These two POIs almost always fight each other, and I'll be honest, when I saw this, I was scared for Gam. But
Mhm.
the fact that they're able to turn this around is a huge wrench in the scoreboards because not only does it keep Gam in qualification position, but it also now leaves Solus basically free to overtake the #1 spot. They need 18 points in a game, and that's not anything crazy to get when your competition just got 0.
And you're also just so okay with being aggressive and taking so many fights too. We know that Solus has no issue farming on the way to zone, as we've already seen before. Just alone, I believe, who was Kree, who's been popping off in terms of KP. I believe 18 total KP already going in favor for Kree after these last 4 games alone. Winnie was following up right behind Kree with 16 total KP, but that's just how aggressive that we know Solus likes to play too.
They'll have the chance to really get quite aggro because Solus basically get to police everyone else who's moving into the center of the map. On your screens right now, Illusion are moving into Energy Bank, and that's where our zone is pulling. Anybody coming from outside of Energy Bank is basically going to be circling the POI and easily picked off if they're not clearing their backs. Solus, one of the teams that you'll have to clean off your back, and that can be particularly challenging. I will say, NG, Skoden, and Solus have the chance to run into each other on the north side, and that's something that I'd really like to take a look at once Addicted claim their building.
Asking you shall receive with already Solus trying to cover Kyrie after Kyrie took a huge chunk of that damage with the PK in hand. You know, Kyrie just trying to juke them off the knockdown shield just so that way they could get the finishing blow, gets the quick shield swap on top of it all. It was the fight for the care pack, and you talk about that Northern Energy Bank positioning too, Dia. That's a spot that I always get afraid to rotate there early, especially if you try to play off that lower bridge side, because there's so many different angles that other players on a later rotate could poke at you from. It really also depends on what legend composition you're running to secure that final zone positioning to work into that playstyle, as we see even more teams make their rotate in from the Galleria to taking the evac tower.
Yeah, it has become much more than a 2-squad fight right now, with multiple teams starting to move their way up into this corner. We did mention NG Skoden earlier as being a big focus, but at this point, so many squads are moving up into that corner, and it's Phantom that arrived right next to the engagement between NG Skoden and Solus, who might have the chance to third party it a little bit later on should it keep going. Addicted, meanwhile, playing very safe inside this building, have basically nothing to do. You want to sit on this Watson gen, you want to get your evos up, you don't want to go down. I'm looking at you, Odd.
Thank you.
He clutched. Oh no! Coach Dia calling it out, but this is the scary part, and this is the unfortunate circumstance of rotating early and being gate-kept, either gate-kept from an Evo Harvester or not having an Evo Harvester on your side when you planned out your pathing, because in this case, you're going into that next zone. Yeah, you want to settle down. You have a Watson on your team. You set up your pylon. You set up defenses, but you have white Evo shields, and that's like candy coming early before Halloween's even arrived. As you try to dance around the portal, you linger a little too long, maybe having to reload here. Tries to get the second pump off that PK, costing the altar to drop. Quieto now having to back away. Mandy, she's trying to survive for the rest of their team. No Magic now get to walk in. Full blue Evo shields, and the block is hot within these two buildings.
That was basically exactly what you talked about, too, with the alter movement tech between portals. Crazy to see it play out, like, literally the game after you talk about it, but sometimes
it gets
it's
so much
predictable.
easier to see. It gets so much easier to see with how crazy it looks as well. Like when you just see them taking shots. It's also equally as important on the positioning of where that portal is also placed, right? If you place it off to the side of the stairs, it could be a little difficult to try to get right back to it if you're not preemptively buffering that button to get through the other side of the portal. But there's also some teams not rocking that altar. We have the Ash, we have the Sparrow, and the Cossack here from Angel Light.
And this has been the stick-to composition for Angelite. They haven't really experimented with anything else, especially being one of the few teams to run Sparrow. I mean, I love Fishy on Sparrow as much as the next person, but it's been really fascinating to see the different read on the meta, especially given the recent Sparrow nerfs. And I like that Fishy is at least with a pretty secured position in the finals. Just seeing how long this can last, seeing if they can get a different read on the meta than everyone else.
That means we're going to be seeing that Sparrow v Seer decision that some teams are going to be leaning into as the meta progresses. And I think this is a very good start, seeing how these ladies have been able to make that adjustment going into today and Addicted on the hunt. Seeing that team that is just helping themselves in the corner of that building. They're not going to be moving anytime soon. I'm not expecting to, especially with the amount of teams now rotating from that northern side of Energy Bank too.
That position from Addicted, though, I look at that, and to me, it's begging to be 3-2-1. Standing out in the open in Energy Bank, you're like, it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of when, especially as the zone keeps closing.
Always has me sitting on the edge of my seat. That's the Apex special. That's why I love this game so much. You never know when you're gonna get beamed in the head with a skull piercer off of a 30-30, or in this case, a charged up Sentinel that's amped up in Incept's hands here. You talk about wanting to see the Sentinel, and I feel like Incept's actually been rocking it ever since you mentioned it, Dia.
Yeah, I really appreciate the fact that she is kind of like Fishy, going out on a limb, but in a different way in the gun meta. Incept's been sticking with the Sentinel. She's been, or rather, Crestep's been giving us the Havoc today. You see these long-time women's comp players that are confident in their own reads and wanting to try out new things. Fortunately, Kyrie finds something a little too risky. Tries to go up the stairs with no real safety, but now Newcastle wall should provide exactly enough time to heal everybody up and stabilize the squad on the inside. Something that's much needed if they want to try and compete for a top spot. Solis are close to the top of the leaderboard, but still, like we said, have 18 points to make up, and that's a long way away.
And still gotta dip and dodge through these 30-30 shots too. You think you're safe until you get beamed from outside a window, or you think you're safe over by the side angle of the stairway, and having to be careful. They have that Newcastle available to them, and they're not the only one with Antidote. Again, settling down on the outskirts of that Evil Harvester. Not only were they able to poke and suppress some of the teams that wanted to prioritize that, but now have secured themselves in that building.
D's have a pretty nice position as well. Very secure with the amount of Watts defenses they've currently got set up. And Maggie griefing as ever. Does tease a squad that wants to fight, but around the outside at half health. I mean, D's aren't even throwing shots at them. They're just here to clean up. Nice job by Secrets. Move in. Secure the KP for the squad. Now playing behind the bodies of her enemies. Goes for yet another swing. He's pump. Does eliminate Gam. The squad that took out our first place team now gone, and D's unfortunately are their position in shambles. That fight cost them just too much.
Too little, too late now, and you're still on the sticks. I mean, you may not need too much when it comes to the PK, but looking like there was only 4 bullets left in the reserve after being able to follow up with those 2 knocks, making it 3 for that finishing blow on that last squad. But now Yoimono, who have moved up, a team that does like to play rather patiently and likes to put themselves in the end game, still on the double blue evos, and luckily for them, have some loot to work with here in the middle of that.
Angelite took out Clean in the middle of this as well. Clean, a squad that's had their ups and downs today, but has largely been in the top half of the leaderboard, if not even further. Surprised to see them fall so early, but Angelite really on the come up as they've won multiple days of the regular season. Today hadn't really been a fantastic run for them. Seems like E-District is where they're making that up. 16 teams left. We're not quite pleased with point territory yet, but Solis one of Ubas there, still competing for the top spot. Not a whole lot of kills going their way just yet. Counter Slam is huge from Mulvana though, and Peacekeeper out. Takes down one. Caustic out, and Solis now with a 3 versus 1 advantage. Should have an easy time cleaning up this fight, and importantly, securing the 2 KP they just earned.
You love the counter slam. You love the get down, Mr. President, as he superhero slams down there with the Newcastle wall too. That's a statement to be made, and that's what you have to do. You have to take note of that for those of you guys watching at home. You know, if you see a Newcastle wall in front of you, they used it first. Guess what? You just counter slam that Newcastle wall, and you will be put into the way better positional advantage there. Great use here of also trying to take control over that high ground, clean that squad up, and Angelite now move forward with the bow check in hand from Fishy.
Brought up an odd. Oh wow. My god, she
From that
hits
far?
that as they're ulting? Angelite just ruined an entire defensive game plan. This should be it. That's a team fight over. Order are gone, and Fishy basically did that all herself.
Do the footstool, by the way, with the sparrow. The footstool sparrow into trying to counter incorrect your just vertical aim. Oh my goodness. Still jumping on heads out here. Nice little void nexus to try to reset. It'd be a shame if Antidote now coming out of the zone, try to force their way, have to take this fight, but a difficult position as a Newcastle slams down, still leaving them slightly open over to the right side.
Try and hit the reset here. Blue knockdown shields. Ghetto and Phantom will fall, but it looks like enough for Antidote as... Hold up a second, I may have spoken too quickly. Nobody really wants to drop on Antidote, which is saving them for right now. And the altar port inside the building is low-key a stroke of genius.
Wait a minute. They're cooking in the kitchen right now, but forcing their way into this building. No Watson, no problem. All I need is a white mag on an R9 to get the one clip, and then the follow-up from Licks takes the squad Antidote from the building that they were settled in for so long here before finalizing their position.
That was pretty clean from both teams, to be honest.
Yeah.
Antidote with the reset and Licks with the retake. So nice, and it leaves Illusion on the outside of this, kind of wondering what's happened. There have been two really clean plays, one for the reset, one for the kill on the other side, and Illusion just watched that happen, and it looks like nothing has gone down in the building, but you know kills have just happened. Unfortunately now, having to play defense against a squad like Licks that just pulled off that offense, I can tell you right now, I'd be backing off as Illusion, especially when the zone is so far away.
Gotta start making your next move with the next round closing in the next 5 seconds. Taking this fight in the middle of Energy Bank. Moino, Exhibit, having noted where this team is because they're on white Evo shields. They know that they have the advantage here. Full purple, they're hungry, but they have to be careful because with that zone closing in, they're just trying to gatekeep without overextending.
Is Seer Attack revealing the amps on people as well? Is that what's next to the health? That's crazy. Illusion
Wait,
to go
what?
down. Keep your eyes on it. Next time the attack goes out, there's something next to the health bar, and I'm pretty sure it's revealing people's amps. Yoimono, we may not get to see it from their perspective because they're kind of in a sticky spot right now, especially with the zone so far away. Soul, they're trying and help her teammate move into the zone where NG Skoden do currently sit, albeit down one. Miss Adil has fallen, but Rena and Exodia still up.
At least they have the gold RE45 in the hands of Exodia. Ultimate Accelerant to put down that Void Nexus just so that way they can see if they can try to get a Moby and a Res and then reposition. But more troubles are brewing as Crean's going to be able to get that next knock, pop it off. By the way, once again with this Havoc Turbocharger, I'm taking notes out here, Cree, and it is insane to see the impact that the Havoc has had in these lobbies.
Pretty unstoppable, and that is huge for Solis. Is again, they are competing for the #1 spot right now. D's getting knocked down and Boo getting fully eliminated does cause even more of a traffic jam up towards the top of the leaderboard. The Solis can just zoom by and overtake by about a mile. Right now, their amount of loot that they've got, the amount of space that they've got is fantastic. But what can they do with it, as Solis do still have to move in from the west side of the ring.
Just have to think about the duo that is waiting for them on the south side of that next ring, and then the duo that is over to the east side that will eventually move up together. If Solis profit off of this, it's both duos that will probably try to look at each other to poke from afar, but I'm not expecting, rather, neither of these duos to overextend too, because they're just trying to be playing safe on the edge of zone. So seeing how a majority of these teams are going to be exiting out of Energy Bank with this huge fight that's inevitable with the zone closing in.
Addicted have started to at least take priority over the bridge. If they're able to hold on to it, it'd be fantastic. With so many sightlines here, and Licks taking advantage of at least one basic angle right now, moving on to contest the bridge directly. Have taken out Odd. Pexi has fallen. And Licks, I believe, are just facing off against one solo. See if the slam makes that any easier. Addicted go down before the slam even lands. Licks have control of the bridge. I don't know how good it's going to be for them. NG Skoden do slide on in to contest that, going down through the portal. Playing around the edges of this ring. Rena now plays quietly as Licks will fall.
Oh, now you see me, now you don't, and Skoden can't survive long enough either. The Bocek, Call, or Legolas shooting from afar. Also being able to scoop some of these up as Solus find themselves in trouble. Kree's gonna try to go for a portal play, being on that race, and Kyrie has to keep suppressing them, but the Sparrow ult, despite the health nerf, still as powerful as ever. Angelite, as a duo, as they were holding this position for as long as possible, are able to stave off a lot of this pressure.
They've got numbers advantage. They've got the win. Angelite take the win away from Solus. They play the high ground. They play academic. And as a duo, find a win in Game 5.
That was crazy. That was huge. What patience. I was worried there that maybe both duos may wanted to try to look to see if they could try to clean out at least that eastern side, because if one of those duos would have fallen, at least the complete south and east side would have been covered. Both teams playing extremely safe, and Angelite being in the way better position ended up taking that game. And that was a very hard game to win too, but they had the high ground opportunity to lean on.
And it's just as we were talking about, specifically Angelite not moving away from the Sparrow, wanting to stick with this and see how far they could make Sparrow work, that they then win a game with it. Clearly, their read on the meta, at least working in this specific game and on this specific map, but that's going to be plenty enough to push them up the leaderboards. And I think more importantly, set themselves up with a lot of confidence moving into the finals that they are already qualified for.
It's good little practice here, especially when it comes to feeling out what these changes mean. If you do want to resort to staying on the Sparrow, you obviously could see here that Sparrow being that strong movement character, having to force your opponents to make vertical adjustments when it comes to aiming is still, in my opinion at least, more difficult than horizontal fix. And then you
Mhm.
also get these remote scans too that comes in clutch. That would be the one thing too that would separate whether a team wants to lean into Sparrow versus Seer. Seer can't just throw his exhibit and like scan a beacon, right? Obviously. So that's
Mhm.
something else that Sparrow gets to walk away with.
That was something I was thinking of when they were buffing Seer. I was like, literally, the only buff you need to Seer is let him scan with the nano drones. Hasn't happened yet, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's coming down the pipeline. We'll keep making wild predictions about the meta, but more importantly, we'll get you updated scores right after this break. Welcome back, everyone, as we are jumping into the final game of the regular season and, of course, naturally, of the day here in the Soul League at Celestial Cup. I'm Dia. I got Vicky with me, and we are about to break down an E-District game that leaves all cards on the table, Vicky. Last game was bloody. This one is probably going to get crazier.
I mean, showcases the importance of holding that zone where you know that zone's gonna be pulling in Angel Light's case. Not only did they farm up that lobby, by the way, they ended it with a dub with 17 KP on top of it all.
We are looking at a incredible finish, of course, from Angelite, and one that leaves them in 5th place overall. It's a big recovery for the squad. But one of the other things we were tracking during that game was whether Legacy, who went out in 20th place, would get overtaken by Solis, who needed
Mhm.
18 points to close the gap and overtake them. Solis got 17 points in the last game. They are sitting 1 point behind Legacy, and this is their last opportunity to boot out Legacy and for Solis get their first win of the regular season.
That would be crazy. And then also you look at D's too with 57 points. Like, I just imagine one huge frag out game from D's would take insane movement. But the fact that you have Solus only 1 point away from Legacy to reclaim that first place spot would be incredible with Legacy winning that back to back. It also showcases how strong an early start is to a 6 point series like this, too.
And for those of you who did miss the first couple of days of the regular season, because we have 4 weeks, so far your match day winners have been Angelite, Legacy, and then Angelite again. Right now, it's not looking like it could be Angelite, although you never know. If they win another game on any district like that, there's a chance that they come back. But Solus have never quite managed to clinch it. Lust have been close a couple of times, and G Skoden and Clean have been in the conversation. But all those teams right now, sitting up near the top of the leaderboard, have their own chance to finally put their names in the history books before we move into finals. And with GAM rolling center zone, this is a big game for them as well, one that could cement GAM's position in finals.
This zone also with Solus being an energy bank, I mean, they got the Evil Harvester, the double Evil Harvesters if they split landed, honestly, and then the ring console on top of that survey beacon. So they have all the information of the teams who have either early rotated or who have landed around them in the northern side of Energy Bank. So this is going to be a pretty heated and interesting final game here that we have on our hands, Dia. As more teams within the outskirts of this zone, I'm thinking Blossom Drive already getting involved here in a fight as No Magic 2 are looking ahead to see if they could try to catch somebody in the middle of maybe trying to get an Evil Harvester.
Yeah, so much opportunity to gatekeep chokes, especially towards this northeastern side of the map. Something that No Magic seem intent on doing, but at the same time, on white shields, you have to play really safely. This caustic gas, not going to save you from the charge rifles and the G7s that are now starting to crop up around the meta. And certainly not going to last too long in front of a Havoc, especially if Crestep's holding it. G7 from Kyrie does get the last hit, but Solis, they've already found their prey for the last game of the day. This could be the first blood that they draw.
Their stuff is so scary with this Havoc. Like, aim training on point out here. Crazy. Clean also getting involved with that Sentinel that we keep seeing once again in a different form when the Bangalore is also very interesting here. 20 squads still left, but we do see the kill feed lighting up, trying to take some more of these pickings out of these squads that are now either forced down to play it out as an early duo, but other teams are also starting to make their rotate towards that Galleria area.
It is just an unending list of names that is piling through the kill feed as squads are unwilling to go out from this game without finding at least a single KP. Legacy, probably the most chilled out team, even still have squads pushing up on them, and Izzy is looking for the damage bar. She's got records to beat here. I think she's at 9k damage over the course of the day, with her record being 12k in a day. So we could beat it. We could beat it today.
Hold on. I mean, wait, when you had the G7 this early, and you basically have a gold G7, can we talk about that real quick? Like, the purple everything at this point, you just got to farm the damage to get that quick hop up here. But you have that G7, you have that 3 times, and it should be cake here, and you should be able to try to get some of that damage. And it may not be wild card, but with a G7 and a Lotus finish here, and you holding up to the higher ground, it could be a good position if you want to break records. And GAM being one of those teams too, also sharing some space, playing off that low ground, full blue Evo shields, but just focusing on the teams that may be above their heads, while other squads will start rotating over to that north side eventually.
Check in on the exact placement that GAM need to be? Because we've been talking about what they need today. I'm just double checking their qualification stats. So GAM need to be placing better than Boobies or Lick Moons, and Boobies has actually already gone out of this game. So I think that with them falling, GAM have secured their spot even as they die in the finals.
Gonna have to see here. I mean, that's the importance right there. Again, even one placement point goes the distance here as Legacy being one of those teams to get the back-to-back dub. And then we saw GAM at one point coming in 3rd place within our previous game of World's Edge, our very last game of World's Edge, really showcasing that even if you could secure that KP and placement points comes a long way. Clean being one of those teams that are just going to be able to loot up, being able to have that Evil Harvester right to their backs. You could expect other teams to start making that rotate here over to the other side. But they're clear for right now. Another team is in the middle of Energy Bank, and if they just scan that survey beacon, they know exactly where they're at.
Instead of just happy one-shotting people with the Sentinel, we're seeing a little bit of that going on. And, well, a deal... I'll say tunnel vision on getting the scan isn't able to cancel it in time, and that opens things up for Clean to come in and get at least a KP. A squad wipe is unlikely, but especially with an attempted reset, it's starting to become more of a reality. Clean get 2 KP off of this when they should have just gotten 1 and leave 1 solo still on the map. NG Skoden in a tough spot, a tough recovery to make right now, but still possible as Clean are sitting around the edge of the map.
Take that any day here, though, as now they're going to be able to start making their move up to the north side, and that's the risk sometimes, a team waiting around here, especially if there's so much objective right in front of them with these Evil Harvesters, a Survey Ring Console too. You know teams are going to be starting to rotate from the south side since the zone is pulling continuously over to that north. And we had that congestion earlier from a lot of these teams trying to move from the south side of Galleria, the teams that were kind of split up apart. And the fight has not stopped here. Clean getting involved with PK in hand, trying to take some shots at the Sentinel. As Incep has shown us already before, they have no issue taking the Sentinel fight.
Order going down at 17th. We'll check in on their finals standing soon. Right now, this Clean fight really taking precedent over everything else, as it is an insta-retreat. We've already dropped so many squads. 4 teams gone, and the zone hasn't even finished closing yet. So I think a lot of teams are realizing, hey, this has been a pretty risky game. We don't need to go super hard on this because placement points are going to start coming in soon, and those can be the difference for so many of our squads.
And that's going to benefit specifically the Newcastle teams. And I say that because a zone like this could probably pull over to that bridge side area where when you exit out of Electro Dam, you see a bridge over to your left side, but there's another bridge closer to those smaller buildings, and there's a glass wall. There's a lot of water there, and there's a lot of open space, and Newcastle is going to come in clutch if these teams get to find their spot here. But Kree's not holding down anytime soon. These Havoc shots are still hitting, and she's sending out her Pokemon to finish the job because now Kyrie and Lana are trying to move up with these PK shots, and it just takes 2 from Kree. It's not just a Havoc. You have another trump card ready to go when it comes to these PK shots.
The flick on that PK was absolutely incredible. Lust in a, I'll say, defensible spot right now, but I am completely blown away by the 3v3 that we just saw. And I think Lust have to be pretty scared of it as well. You see shots like that, you're not pushing instantly, especially when Scarlet's taking damage like this back, and a whole riot drill gets thrown at your face as well. Lust are being so effectively kept off of this fight that a full reset should have gone down inside. Renee looking for an angle in, but even when you've got 3 members on your team up, even when you're pretty sure you have a health advantage, you don't want to throw that all away. And NG Skoden, unfortunately, for the second time this game, may not be able to keep control of things. Nox Gas Grenade going to go out. Thermite cover the doorway as well, and maybe NG Skoden are able to find a trade, but no! With the Void Breach, we're going to see a couple more members of NG Skoden escorted out. Illusion, do not give up the chase. After the 1 member left to find. Nice shots, almost finds the knock. Sweet Pea does reset on the inside. quick res right now. D's get collapsed on and ultimately picked up.
Talk about forgiving. That was hipfire shots were about. That was incredible. RE is so scary here, and it's not over yet. May not just need a mag this time around. May need some bullets soon, but you gotta figure out on surviving because they are on the edge right here. Finds these shots still with the RE over to the other side, but they have to reset, and there's nowhere for them to hide.
Licks contributing with the 30-30 from a distance. Help move Lust out of the lobby. And Illusion completely unconcerned. You turn their backs, Sweet Pea may need to outplay here, especially with Peacekeeper hunting you down. But it's a fight on two fronts to take out D's as Illusion finished the job that they started. And that may be the last thing that they do. Shots on this Wraith to be taken down. Illusion are out. And Boo are the ones that help move them there. 12 squads left. This is a fast game, Vicky. We are not playing around.
I really like too. We saw it in the feed, but it looked like Kyrie had gotten the finishing blow on that one last member of Lust over in Galleria, and it showcases how slow that. Oh my! Oh! Hold it!
Get another! Get another!
Again?
Get another!
Oh my! Stop!
She almost did it.
I can't even right now.
That was way
Oh
too
my-
close for comfort, and even
She's
then,
still going.
I'm like perma choking as I see these shots coming out. Havoc for Crestep does mean that somebody's dead as soon as she gets her sights on them. But the Kraber shots, almost scarier from what we saw earlier. Solis looking pretty unstoppable right now. 7 kills so far. And remember, there was 1 point between them and Legacy when we got into this game. The kicker here is that Legacy is still alive and can fight back. If Legacy win this game, they'll still come out on top points-wise. Solis needs to close everything out, get as much KP as possible, and win the game to stay ahead of Legacy, who have otherwise been running these maps.
Look at this. This is like watching like the new movie of Jaws or something if it ever came out. Like just circling around this building. There's nowhere for you to hide, not even if you have a bunch of gas traps here. Look at this. Angelette is forced now to play this out as a solo, and it's your Ashe that's the last one alive. What usually happens when you have that Ashe portal to get away, but I'm scared just watching Solus play out. I mean, taking notes. RE, 45 shots, tracking check, Havoc check, Kraber insane, as Licks may not have that same success as they fall out. 10 squads left, and it's Mono on the other side. Exactly this area that I had mentioned on the outskirts of where that next zone was going to pull by that glass wall over by this bridge.
Really works out for them.
I say we move.
They're able to hold on to the north side. Not a whole lot of other teams in this area, and Yoimono could be getting their first win of the day if they're able to play a position like this right. Solis, however, never giving up on a power position. Start moving in to contest exactly this northern side. We know that Yoimono are here, but they're not the only ones. We got a solo in the area as well, and Solis seem pretty laser focused on that right now. NG Skoden, unfortunately, will not survive said focus.
They're farming. They're like taking a lot of these fights here, and they are just cleaning heads on the way out. I mean, Creed almost just took me out in the middle of that Kraber shot, but with 9 squads left, looking down to just hide the hurt box over your head, especially with Wraith. You can take a little low profile before that shot, giving a haircut over to that player just waiting on the foot of those stairs.
Making contact with enemy.
This is Yoimono, who sit right in front of Solis, and Yoimono need to be taking space if they want to contest for a win in this game, because right now, Solis are playing for a position that they believe will win them the game, and Yoimono are giving up a lot of priority on this. Legacy, unfortunately, do not have the privilege of contesting for high ground, for really any ground, as they are literally 1 HP, but do technically sit north side of the ring.
It's a little scary there. You're getting hit by that drill, having to back away. You are Wraith though, so you could fade away here too, but Boo not wanting to give up too much space when they have 2 Void Nexuses set up, and they have to also cover their back, because Solus, again, still on the hut on the north side of the Evil Harvester, are not letting go. Kristep is insane right now on fire. I mean, you got to look at the Havoc ammo right now. If there's no energy, you have to start considering what else you could fry with here, but you can still make magic happen with 62 bullets in the reserve of a Havoc.
And I gotta call it out as well. We saw it in the kill feed. Crestep started that fight with a Kraber headshot opening. That is the kind of play that she is expected to manufacture for the squad and that she has been doing so well all day. But now, Solis sit right next to Legacy, and this is the fight that really determines not just the game, but the standings, the overall for where these teams will land. Out goes the Wrecking Ball, but Kyrie gets fried right back. Press step does end up finding yet another Kraber knock, but it's on a different team. While Legacy come on in and fight for the high ground.
It's Kraber galore, though, it's looking like, with Ducks also having a Kraber in her hand, and Legacy fighting for their life are looking to reset our E45, just trying to break open a different angle here inside of this building, but they have to also look onto the other side to make sure that they don't also get wrapped up on as the engagement starts up. It's the Alter Void Portal just to open things up. You can't get a hit fire top of the Kraber, but you could barrel stuff it to then get the follow-up with the PK.
Kyrie answers back. Legacy not even in a comfortable spot in this fight. Solis are low. Kyrie goes down, and Crestep's got to clean things up with the Havoc and no ammo. She will fall to Legacy, leaving Legacy as the #1 team in this lobby. They claim the top of the leaderboard right now, and Reset have nobody else even looking at them. Legacy, they just won this match day, but they're setting themselves up even now to win the game.
I need to see how much KP that finished Solis with, because that also the placement points here are going to go hard for the fact that Legacy had that game-winning fight right there is huge. Portal next is taken in front of Addicted as they're holding onto high ground, and it is just free pickings with this car shredding through them. Hiding on the other side of an enemy Cossack Barrows, though. This is a spot that Addicted was holding on to for quite some time, and they knew that this zone was pulling into that same exact space that we had mentioned earlier, Dio, with that bridge. And Angel Light forced to play on the outskirts.
Nobody gets to contest this car. Nothing with the way that Dux is playing it. Does not end up following up low ground. Instead, leaves it to the team as Boo get taken out by, you guessed it, none other than Legacy, who have collected even more KP. And it's so clear now that with Legacy, Titans of the lobby still alive, it is their game to win. And somebody has got to manufacture a play against them. Unfortunately for a team like Addicted, they're surrounded by 3 other squads, making it basically impossible to move out. Look at the amount of space that Legacy have right now. Lickmoons are the only team that could take that away, and Lickmoons are playing with maybe a square inch of space.
It for free real estate in this economy? Oh, we take those any day. Legacy are feasting on the other side of that bridge. They could actually play the nice LLS side over by the stairway and take a nice head glitch too. As Addicted, fighting for their lives, have to dance around the portal too to be able to get this res. Luckily, with the Watson, they are safe inside this building for now, but will eventually have to start moving.
I do love the way that Addicted are playing at the moment. Their resets are super clean. They're playing with the little bit of cover that they have. I mean, this is fantastic. The thing is, it's not going to last them very long. Addicted do try and contest the high ground, but Izzy with the Kraber knocks Dux immediately. Angelite would really like a chance at this end game. Out goes the Stinger Bolt. We've seen Fishy make a huge difference with this before, and currently it's ticking 3. Angelite may very well win this fight, moving themselves up to top 5. As Ellie drops down, Lickmoons and Kieto have fallen as well. KP being collected by Angelite. No squad wipe for them just yet. Fishy's gonna drop down, help Ellie out on the low ground. Waiting for the finish, waiting for the last pump. Fishy's gonna hold on to it, instead put the high ground.
I love the patience from Fishy, though. A lot of players would just fully send it. You could get very anxious there when you try to chow, and Fishy calling it quits with the zone closing in, knows that this isn't the right opportunity, but they will eventually have to start moving, and they're out in the open field for Legacy to pick at them as they're safe and sound behind a Newcastle wall.
We saw such a similar finish with NG Skoden on World's Edge. Legacy have all the space, and teams have to walk up to them, serving themselves up on a silver platter for Legacy to take not just the game win, but the match day win in game number 6.
With a statement, Dia. That is the 3-time game-winning moment for Legacy, and they came through. We have to see if Izzy actually broke her record, right? Because he had the G7 to the very end. And I with a game like that, I wouldn't be surprised.
Wait, that's a really good point. I gotta know. She needed to break 12K. I'm pretty sure, and she might have done it with game number 6. the fact remains that this is a dominant legacy performance, and I know that this isn't ALGS, different scoring system, different way to qualify for finals, everything. But in ALGS, 3 wins is a bonus point. You are crushing it on the day, and Legacy, super dominant performance, have gotten this back from Angelite, who were otherwise contesting them. Week 1, Angelite win. Week 2, Legacy win. Week 3, Angelite win. And week 4, the last week before finals, Legacy reclaim their spot. Fantastic finish for them and a really scary team, especially because the meta changed today and they already seem to have it downloaded.
Which is very hard to do. In my personal opinion, it's very difficult, especially when there's no legend bands, to make those adjustments and then stick with that foundation that you know other teams are going to be rocking. Taking a look at the overall leaderboard, 3-time winner Legacy. Look at those points. Solus, they were fragging out. I believe there was 2 other games individually that they had pretty good placement points, and that one game too, but they were also fragging out. I mean, we saw what Kree was doing. D's also coming in playing for that final circle positioning. And Angelite coming still in top 5, a team that has been showing consistency over the course of the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'd look out for Angelite in the finals, certainly, especially with the fact that they were able to win a game in game number 5. They surpassed 53 points. This looks like a team that could contest in the finals for a victory. Legacy, again, 3 wins on the day. Fantastic. Solis only winning 1 game and 12 points behind first.
Mhm.
Do get a weird victory in a way. Not because they won the day, they didn't. But remember, we were talking about Izzy and the whole damage record thing? Izzy did
Yeah.
not break her record. She did not break 12k damage. She did get
Mm.
11,683. That's a lot of damage. You know who had the most damage of the day, though? Was Kyrie on Solus with 11,900 damage. Just 100 short of 12k, but beating the rest of the lobby, including Izzy, for damage, which is the first day of all the regular season that Izzy doesn't get most damage.
And that's with her, teammate, by the way, farming a lot of damage herself. That's
Mhm.
incredible. I mean, for both of them too, because Winnie was out here. I think she did, like, over 10,000 damage in total,
Yeah.
and I think Winnie was one of the players that stuck with one legend, with the Mad Maggie, and we know that route drill, that's all I'm saying, that drill be scary sometimes, especially when you're forced out of cover in a meta where you're gonna get pinged by a 30-30.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming out of the
Mhm.
Riot Drill, and I like that we're seeing Maggie step up. We're seeing a lot of Seer presence. Caustic is still in here. Izzy, inexplicably on the Fuse. Nobody else is on Fuse, but Izzy's like, nah, Fuse is where it's at. We got a lot of diversity in terms of the legend pool that we are seeing, but these dominant performers seem to be staying the same. There are a couple teams contesting for it, and I'll say a lot of squads look good coming out of the last week of the regular season. Do they look good enough to contest in the finals? Is what we'll have to find out in our finals next week. Mark your calendars, 7 p.m. Eastern, this coming Tuesday, the 23rd, is going to mark the finals here in Soul League at Celestial Cup. You do not want to miss the games like we've been having today, so we will see you there. And until then, have a wonderful day. Go enjoy some Apex Legends. It's a new patch, and we'll see you next time.
But then TSM on the precipice. Surely they're going to take the win, unless it's a massive moment from this last player. I don't even know who they are. It's crazy, but TSM minds their own business and come through such a tight end game as victorious.
Wait, moving forward, moving forward. One.
To the left, to the left.
One, I got one. I'm swinging.
Nice. I'm behind you.
Oh my god. They're weak. So weak.
Got one down.
Clean up. No.
Oh, we won!
They're resing her.
I'm gonna go down there if we can.
We have to push this. I'm pushing this. One left.
Dead. You're good.
No, he's not off. You win it, baby.
Please.
I'm dead. You win it.
Let's
So
go!
much better.
You're so much better. Holy
Not one. We're good. One fight.
Apple two. Dead. Oh my god, I'm the kill. Oh my god.
Watch him turret.
Bring on the scratch, get aggressive,
100 on cat.
Bring one.
I killed one. One more, last one. That's the last one. Nice.
Getting a smoke.
Swing out. I killed one.
Of all of that, and Death's last one up again. RE45 in hand. This weapon can work miracles, but can it pull it off? Yes! Veneer go down as Desu gets the shield swap, and Flawless are still in this.
Almost flash. I don't have any more light ammo. Got her. Go one. Let's go. Go, baby. Right here.
Come on.
Right here. Got it. Push. Oh my god, let's go.
Hello?
Top cracked one. Dead. Lost. Dead. GG's.
Oh my god, how are you so good?
How?
Wait, you what? How are you so good?